Cabins by the lake are often thought of as peaceful retreats, where the water reflects the sky and the forest whispers lullabies. But some lakeside cabins across America hide terrifying secrets that refuse to stay submerged, from shadowy figures appearing at dusk, to unexplained footsteps echoing on empty porches, to doors opening and closing on their own. These cabins are anything but peaceful. Tonight, we explore 25 of the most haunted lakeside cabins you should never stay in, where the beauty of the water hides unspeakable horror and the night brings things that should never be seen. Shimmering Pines Cabin, nestled deep in the forests of northern Michigan, is a rustic retreat surrounded by towering pines, dense undergrowth, and winding dirt roads that disappear into the wilderness. Its secluded location makes it an ideal destination for hikers, nature lovers, and those seeking a quiet escape from the bustle of city life. Yet alongside its peaceful exterior, the cabin has developed a reputation for unexplained phenomena. Visitors report ghostly silhouettes on the deck, doors slamming without cause, and whispers that seem to drift from the surrounding trees, creating an atmosphere that is both serene and unnervingly mysterious. The ghostly silhouettes are among the most frequently reported experiences. At Shimmering Pines Cabin, guests have described shadowy figures appearing on the deck, often at dusk or late at night, standing just beyond the light of the cabin's windows or moving silently along the railings. These figures are usually indistinct, resembling human shapes without clear features, yet they carry a weight of presence that is immediately felt. Witnesses often report a sense of being observed, as if the silhouettes are aware of their attention but remain just out of reach. Sometimes the figures seem to vanish when approached or illuminated by a flashlight, leaving behind only the lingering impression of someone or something having been there. Doors that slam without wind or cause add to the cabin's haunted reputation. Visitors frequently recount moments when doors to rooms, closets, or even the front entry burst open or shut suddenly, even when all windows are closed and no breeze is present. These incidents are often accompanied by sudden temperature drops, creaking floorboards, or the faint sound of movement in other parts of the cabin. Some guests have tried to ignore the occurrences, attributing them to the old building settling or the natural sounds of the forest. Yet the regularity and timing of these events often suggest a more inexplicable source. The experience can be startling, especially in the quiet of the night, reinforcing the sense that the cabin is alive with unseen activity. Whispers emanating from the surrounding forest are another common phenomenon. Visitors report faint voices drifting through the trees, often just on the edge of hearing, sometimes calling names or uttering fragmented words. These whispers seem to float through the air unpredictably, appearing near the cabin and then fading into the distance. Many hikers and guests describe a chilling sensation when hearing these sounds, as though the forest itself is alive and communicating. The voices are usually soft, yet clear enough to make their presence undeniable, and they often coincide with other unexplained events, such as the appearance of shadows or sudden movements of objects inside the cabin. The environment surrounding Shimmering Pines Cabin amplifies the eerie atmosphere. The dense forest creates deep shadows, and the tall pine trees sway with even the slightest wind, producing whispering sounds that blend with the natural creaks and groans of the cabin. Fog often rolls through the forest in the early morning or evening, creating pockets of limited visibility where shadows can appear and disappear with ease. Visitors report that the mist can make ordinary movements of animals, branches, or falling leaves appear as figures moving intentionally, adding to the tension and sense of mystery. Subtle, unexplained occurrences are also commonly reported inside the cabin. Objects may shift or fall without apparent cause, cups on tables, books from shelves, or chairs slightly out of place. Some guests have described feeling sudden drafts or an unexpected weight on their shoulders, as if someone had brushed past them. These sensations are often accompanied by other strange experiences, such as hearing whispers, spotting shadows, or witnessing doors opening and closing on their own. The combination of these phenomena creates a layered experience of the supernatural, blending auditory, visual, and tactile sensations in ways that leave a lasting impression on visitors. Photographs and recordings occasionally capture anomalies consistent with eyewitness reports. Long exposure photos may reveal faint figures standing on the deck or along the edges of the cabin, while video footage sometimes shows objects moving independently or shadows appearing where no one is present. Audio recordings have picked up whispers, faint footsteps, or rustling sounds not audible at the time of recording, while subtle and often subject to interpretation. These pieces of evidence add weight to the consistency of the reports and highlight the unusual energy present at Shimmering Pines cabin. Frequent visitors and local guides often acknowledge the unique atmosphere of the cabin and its surrounding forest. The combination of isolation, dense trees, creaking wood, and mist creates an environment that heightens awareness and makes subtle occurrences more noticeable. Those who witness ghostly silhouettes, hear whispered voices, or experience doors slamming without cause frequently describe a mixture of awe and unease. Many visitors remark that the cabin feels as though it is inhabited not only by nature but also by unseen presences that linger in the shadows, observing quietly and occasionally making themselves known. Shimmering Pines cabin is more than a secluded retreat in Michigan's forest. Ghostly silhouettes appear on the deck, doors slam without wind, and whispers drift from the trees. Visitors who stay at the cabin or hike the surrounding trails often feel an invisible presence that is both unnerving and captivating. The combination of natural beauty and unexplained phenomena creates an atmosphere that is haunting, leaving a lasting impression on all who enter its misty, shadowed, and mysterious environment. Mirror Lake Cabin, tucked away in the dense forests of northern Minnesota, sits on the edge of a serene lake whose surface often reflects the surrounding pines like a perfect mirror. By day, the cabin is a peaceful retreat where visitors fish, kayak, or simply relax while taking in the quiet beauty of the water and forest. Yet, as night falls, locals and guests alike report a very different experience. Shadowy figures are said to appear in the lake, phantom footsteps echo across the cabin's empty floors, and the sound of children playing along the shore drifts eerily through the still night air, creating a sense of mystery and unease that lingers long after the sun rises. The shadowy figures in the lake are among the most frequently reported phenomena. Visitors often describe seeing vague, dark shapes moving just beneath the surface, sometimes gliding silently across the water or standing motionless near the shore. These forms often resemble human figures, but they remain indistinct, fading in and out of view as ripples distort their appearance. Witnesses have reported feeling a chill when observing the lake at night, as if the water itself carries the weight of unseen presences. Some visitors describe the sensation that the figures are aware of being watched, pausing or shifting slightly when someone approaches the edge, before vanishing without a trace. Footsteps on the cabin's empty floors contribute to its haunted reputation. Guests frequently recount hearing the sounds of walking in rooms, hallways, or on creaking wooden staircases, even when no one else is present. The footsteps vary in tone, sometimes soft and hesitant, other times heavy and deliberate, echoing through the quiet spaces with unnerving clarity. Visitors often feel a sudden awareness, a sense that an unseen presence is moving through the cabin, alongside them, or just out of sight. These phantom sounds often occur in conjunction with other unusual activity, such as lights flickering, doors opening or closing unexpectedly, or the faint impression of being followed while walking through the rooms. Perhaps the most unsettling phenomena reported at Mirror Lake Cabin are the phantom children playing along the shore. Many visitors describe hearing laughter, shouting, and the sounds of splashing. Yet when they look for the source, the shoreline is empty. The children are often reported as playful and harmless in sound, yet the inability to see them clearly or understand where they come from lends a haunting quality to the experience. Some speculate that these spirits are remnants of past visitors who tragically lost their lives near the lake, their energy lingering in the area long after their deaths. The natural environment around Mirror Lake Cabin amplifies the sense of mystery. The dense forest creates deep shadows, while the still surface of the lake reflects the moonlight, producing distorted images that can make ordinary movements appear ghostly. Mist frequently rises from the water in the early morning or late evening, and combined with the reflections, it can make figures seem to float on the surface or move through the trees. Even the gentle sounds of wind rustling the leaves or the lapping of water against the shore can take on an eerie quality, blending with the reported apparitions and phantom noises to create a fully immersive experience of the supernatural. Subtle, unexplained occurrences within the cabin add to the eerie atmosphere. Objects such as cups, keys, or blankets may shift or fall without explanation. Guests sometimes feel sudden cold drafts, a light touch on their shoulders, or a presence in the room, even when alone. These sensations often coincide with the sightings of figures or the sounds of footsteps, reinforcing the perception that Mirror Lake Cabin is a place where the natural and the supernatural intertwine. Many visitors report leaving the cabin with a sense that the space is alive, observing quietly, and occasionally making itself known. Photographs and recordings occasionally capture anomalies consistent with these experiences. Long exposure images may reveal faint silhouettes in the water or along the shoreline, while video footage sometimes shows objects moving independently or shadows crossing rooms. Audio recordings have captured unexplained laughter, footsteps, and rustling sounds that were imperceptible during the actual visit. While these pieces of evidence are subtle, they lend credibility to the consistency of reports and highlight the persistent, unexplained energy surrounding the cabin. Frequent visitors and local guides often remark on the unique atmosphere of Mirror Lake Cabin. The combination of the reflective lake, dense forest, and secluded setting creates an environment where perception is heightened, and ordinary experiences can take on a mysterious quality. Those who witness shadowy figures, hear phantom footsteps, or catch the sounds of unseen children describe a mixture of awe and unease. Many leave with the feeling that the cabin is not only a retreat but a space where the past continues to interact with the present, leaving traces that are felt even if they cannot be fully understood. Mirror Lake Cabin is more than a lakeside retreat in Minnesota. Shadowy figures move beneath the water, phantom footsteps echo across empty floors, and the laughter of unseen children drifts along the shore. Visitors who explore the trails, linger near the water, or stay in the cabin itself often feel the presence of entities that are unseen yet undeniably real. The combination of natural beauty and unexplained phenomena creates a hauntingly memorable experience, one that lingers in the mind long after leaving the misty, reflective, and mysterious surroundings of Mirror Lake Cabin. Hollow Lake Cabin, nestled on the edge of a mist-shrouded lake in rural Wisconsin, appears at first glance to be the perfect escape for anyone seeking solitude and a retreat into nature. Surrounded by dense pine forests and the serene waters of Hollow Lake, the cabin's rustic charm draws hikers, anglers, and families looking for quiet. Yet beneath the calm surface of this picturesque location lies a reputation for strange and unsettling phenomena. Visitors frequently report ghostly figures appearing in the fog, doors slamming with no apparent cause, and unexplained whispers echoing through the cabin, creating an atmosphere that is both eerie and unforgettable. The fog that drifts across Hollow Lake plays a central role in many of the experiences described by visitors. At dawn and dusk, a dense mist often rises from the water, curling through the trees and creeping across the shoreline. Within this fog, witnesses have reported seeing ghostly figures moving silently, their forms sometimes humanoid but shrouded in a vaporous haze. These figures often appear to drift across the lake's edge or pause near the tree line, their presence felt as much as seen. Some visitors describe feeling the unmistakable sense of being observed, as if the spirits are aware of their intrusion. The figures vanish as suddenly as they appear, leaving only the faintest impression of movement in the mist and a lingering sense of unease. Inside the cabin, doors that slam unexpectedly are a recurring phenomenon. Guests recount moments when doors to bedrooms, bathrooms, or closets swing open or shut without explanation. These events often occur during the quiet of night, accompanied by sudden drops in temperature, or the subtle creak of floorboards that seem to move in response to unseen footsteps. Some visitors have noticed multiple doors moving in sequence, creating a sense that the cabin itself is alive and aware. The timing of these slamming doors often seems deliberate, as if the unseen occupants are interacting with the living in subtle, unsettling ways. The sudden, loud noises echo through the otherwise silent cabin, amplifying the feeling that Hollow Lake Cabin is a space shared between the living and those who remain unseen. Unexplained whispers are another common experience reported by guests. These whispers often seem to come from nowhere, drifting through hallways, rooms, or along the edges of the port. Some visitors describe them as faint murmurs, barely audible over the natural sounds of the lake and forest, while others hear distinct words or phrases that are impossible to trace. The whispers often create an immediate sense of tension, as if someone or something is communicating from another world. At times, they appear to respond to the presence of visitors, intensifying as people move through the cabin or investigate certain areas, and then fading abruptly when attention is drawn directly to them. The surrounding environment enhances the haunting atmosphere of Hollow Lake Cabin. The dense forest creates shadows that shift with the movement of the fog, producing shapes and silhouettes that appear almost human in the dim light. The lake's surface reflects both moonlight and mist, adding to the sense of something lurking just beyond the visible. Even the creaking of the cabin's aged timbers can take on a life of its own, resonating in harmony with the sounds of the fog-shrouded lake and the ghostly presence felt by guests. Many visitors recount experiences that combine multiple phenomena, heightening the sense of the supernatural. Some describe seeing ghostly figures in the fog, while simultaneously hearing slamming doors and whispers from inside the cabin. Others report following the sounds of footsteps to find the cabin empty, only to catch a fleeting glimpse of movement through the mist outside. These layered encounters suggest that Hollow Lake Cabin is a place where the living and unseen interact, where the physical and ethereal worlds overlap in ways that defy explanation. Photographs and recordings sometimes capture evidence of the haunting, though subtle and open to interpretation. Long exposure images occasionally reveal faint silhouettes within the fog or on the shoreline that were not visible to the naked eye. Audio recordings have picked up soft whispers or distant thumps corresponding to the reported door movements. While these captures are never definitive, they often align with the experiences of multiple visitors, reinforcing the cabin's reputation as a site of unexplained phenomena. Regular visitors and local guides often describe Hollow Lake Cabin as a place with a unique energy. The combination of isolation, reflective water, and dense forest creates an environment where ordinary sights and sounds are amplified, making ghostly phenomena feel more tangible. Guests who witness figures in the fog, hear doors slam, or sense whispers often leave with a profound mixture of awe and unease. Many remark that the cabin feels alive in a way that goes beyond nature alone, suggesting the presence of lingering spirits bound to the lake and the forest. Hollow Lake Cabin is far more than a scenic retreat in Wisconsin. Ghostly figures appear in the fog, doors move inexplicably, and whispers drift through the halls, creating a haunting atmosphere that visitors cannot easily forget. Those who explore the shoreline, walk among the trees, or stay inside the cabin often feel a presence that is tangible yet elusive, leaving them with a sense of wonder and apprehension. The combination of natural beauty and unexplainable phenomena ensures that Hollow Lake Cabin remains a memorable and haunting destination, where the line between the living and the spectral is blurred by mist, shadow, and the unseen world that lingers just beyond the lake. Silver Lake Retreat, nestled deep in the forests of upstate New York, offers a picturesque view of a tranquil lake surrounded by dense trees and rolling hills. By day, it is a serene escape for families, hikers, and nature lovers seeking solitude and the calm reflection of the water. Yet beneath its scenic beauty lies a chilling history that has left a lasting mark on the area. Haunted by a tragic drowning decades ago, the retreat is now a place where visitors report ghostly cries echoing from the lake, apparitions appearing on the dock, and sudden, unexplained chills inside the cabin, creating an unsettling atmosphere that lingers long after the sun sets. The lake itself is central to the haunting at Silver Lake Retreat. Visitors frequently recount hearing faint, anguished cries coming from the water, especially at night or during the early hours of dawn. The cries are often described as distant but unmistakable, echoing across the still surface of the lake with a mournful quality that sends shivers down the spine. Some witnesses report that the sound seems to move along the shoreline, as if a restless spirit is pacing beneath the surface, its sorrow carried by the wind and the lapping waves. Attempts to locate the source often prove futile, leaving guests with a profound sense of unease, as though the water holds secrets that are beyond human understanding. Apparitions on the dock are another common phenomenon reported at Silver Lake Retreat. Witnesses describe shadowy figures standing at the edge of the pier, sometimes looking out over the water, and other times appearing to beckon or move along the boards. Some guests have observed them during quiet evenings, their presence almost tangible, as if the dock itself remembers the tragedy that occurred there. In some cases, the apparitions seem to react to the presence of visitors, shifting position, pausing, or vanishing entirely when approached, leaving behind only the echo of footsteps on the wooden planks or the sensation that someone had been standing there moments before. Inside the cabins, visitors report sudden, inexplicable chills that appear without warning. These drops in temperature are often localized, moving through a single room or following guests as they walk from one space to another. The air may feel heavy, carrying a sense of sadness or foreboding, sometimes accompanied by the faint scent of water or damp earth. Many guests describe the sensation of being watched, a feeling intensified when combined with the eerie cries from the lake or the sightings on the dock. Personal items, such as towels, chairs, or books, occasionally shift without explanation, reinforcing the impression that unseen forces are present within the cabin. The surrounding environment adds to the haunting atmosphere. The dense forest around Silver Lake Retreat creates deep shadows and muffles natural sounds, while the lake's still surface reflects moonlight and the silhouettes of trees, producing an almost surreal, mirror-like quality. Mist frequently rises from the water in the early morning and evening, obscuring the shoreline and creating a natural veil that amplifies the ghostly presence of figures and sounds. Even ordinary occurrences, such as the movement of branches or the splash of a fish, can appear unnatural in the quiet, reflective environment, blending seamlessly with reports of apparitions and cries. Visitors often recount layered experiences where multiple phenomena occur simultaneously. Some describe hearing the distant cries from the lake, while also seeing shadowy figures on the dock, followed by sudden cold spots inside the cabin. Others have reported footsteps on the deck outside when no one is there, or glimpses of movement in the trees that vanish upon closer inspection. These experiences often leave a lasting impression, as though the spirit of the drowning victim is both present and restless, moving through the lake and retreat grounds in ways that defy explanation. Photographs and recordings occasionally capture anomalies consistent with these reports. Long exposure photos of the dock or lakeshore may reveal faint silhouettes or orbs of light that cannot be attributed to natural sources. Audio recordings sometimes pick up cries, splashes, or footsteps that were not audible to those present. While subtle, these pieces of evidence align with the consistent reports from multiple visitors and contribute to the retreat's reputation as a location where the past continues to haunt the present. Local guides and frequent visitors often acknowledge the cabin's unique energy. The combination of the still lake, dense forest, and secluded cabins creates an environment where ordinary sensations are heightened, making subtle phenomena more noticeable. Many guests describe a mixture of awe and unease, appreciating the beauty of the retreat while simultaneously sensing the lingering presence of a tragic past. Some leave feeling that the lake and cabins are alive with the memory of the drowning, a silent witness to a sorrow that has not yet passed. Silver Lake Retreat is more than a peaceful getaway in upstate New York. Ghostly cries emanate from the water, apparitions appear on the dock, and unexplained chills sweep through the cabins. Visitors who explore the lake, walk the pier, or stay in the retreat's accommodations often feel an invisible presence that is both real and inexplicable. The combination of natural beauty and haunting phenomena creates an experience that is unforgettable, where the serenity of the forest and lake intertwines with lingering echoes of tragedy, leaving a haunting impression on all who visit. Crescent Bay Cabin, tucked along a secluded curve of Oregon's rugged coastline, offers a picturesque retreat where the forest meets the water in serene harmony. By day, visitors enjoy the calm waters, towering evergreens, and the gentle lapping of waves along the shoreline. Yet, despite its outward beauty, Crescent Bay Cabin has earned a reputation for mysterious and unsettling occurrences. Locals and visitors alike report shadowy figures moving along the shoreline, doors opening and closing with no apparent cause, and strange lights reflecting off the lake, creating an atmosphere that is at once enchanting and deeply unnerving. The shoreline itself is often the stage for the cabin's most frequently reported phenomena. Shadowy figures are commonly seen gliding along the edge of the water, sometimes appearing to walk the beach or linger near driftwood and rocks. Witnesses describe these figures as vaguely human in shape but lacking distinct features, moving silently and disappearing into the forest or mist without warning. Some visitors report glimpsing them at dusk, when the fading light creates long, distorted shadows that seem to take on a life of their own. Others have seen the figures during the quiet of night, their presence accompanied by a sudden chill in the air or the soft, untraceable sound of footsteps on sand and gravel. The figures are usually fleeting, but their impact is lasting, leaving witnesses with the impression that the shoreline is a space shared between the living and the unseen. Inside the cabin, doors that open and close without reason are among the most unnerving experiences. Guests frequently recount moments when a door to a bedroom, closet, or even the front entry swings open or shuts on its own, despite all windows being closed and no wind present. These events often occur at night, accompanied by sudden temperature drops or soft creaks of the floorboards. Some visitors describe a feeling of being observed during these incidents, as if the cabin itself is aware of their presence and responding in subtle ways. In certain cases, multiple doors may move sequentially, creating a sense of motion and activity within the otherwise quiet cabin. The inexplicable nature of these occurrences makes them difficult to ignore, contributing to the cabin's reputation as a place where the ordinary rules of the physical world do not always apply. Strange lights reflecting off the lake further heighten Crescent Bay Cabin's otherworldly atmosphere. Visitors often report seeing flickering glows on the water's surface, sometimes resembling lanterns or orbs moving in patterns that do not match the movements of boats or wildlife. These lights are most commonly observed in the evening or late at night, when the lake is calm and the surrounding darkness intensifies their eerie appearance. Witnesses sometimes describe the lights as changing color, drifting slowly across the water, or appearing to hover in place before vanishing entirely. The origin of these reflections remains unexplained, leaving many to speculate that they may be manifestations of lingering spirits connected to the cabin or the shoreline. The natural environment around Crescent Bay Cabin amplifies the sense of mystery. The forest surrounding the property is dense, and the rugged coastline creates natural shadows and silhouettes that can play tricks on the eyes. Fog often rolls in from the ocean, especially in the early morning or evening, creating a thick veil that obscures the shoreline and amplifies the appearance of shadowy figures. The sound of waves crashing, combined with the wind rustling through the trees, can mimic footsteps or whispers, blending natural and supernatural elements into a seamless sensory experience. Even ordinary objects, such as drifting logs or reflections of moonlight, can appear distorted, giving fleeting glimpses of figures or shapes that vanish upon closer inspection. Visitors to the cabin frequently experience layered phenomena that combine multiple aspects of the haunting. Some report hearing soft footsteps along the deck while simultaneously seeing flickering lights on the lake and catching the glimpse of a shadow near the shore. Others have described doors moving inside the cabin while feeling sudden cold drafts and sensing a presence nearby. These layered experiences reinforce the idea that Crescent Bay Cabin is a space where the natural world and unexplained activity intersect, creating an environment that is both beautiful and unsettling. Photographs and video recordings occasionally capture subtle evidence of these unusual occurrences. Long exposure images sometimes reveal faint silhouettes along the shoreline or reflections in the water that cannot be explained by natural light sources. Audio recordings have picked up creaks, whispers, or splashes that were imperceptible to those present. While such evidence is subtle and often open to interpretation, it aligns closely with the consistent reports from multiple visitors, adding weight to the cabin's reputation as a location where the extraordinary and unexplained are part of everyday experience. Local guides and frequent visitors often speak of Crescent Bay Cabin's distinct energy. The combination of isolation, dense forest, and the reflective surface of the lake creates an environment where perception is heightened and ordinary events can take on an eerie quality. Guests who witness shadowy figures, experience doors moving, or see mysterious lights often describe a mixture of awe and unease. Many leave the cabin feeling that it is a place alive with lingering presences, a location where the past and present coexist in subtle but undeniable ways. Crescent Bay Cabin is more than a tranquil lakeside retreat in Oregon. Shadowy figures move along the shoreline, doors open and close without cause, and strange lights shimmer on the water. Visitors who explore the property or stay in the cabin often sense an invisible presence that is both mysterious and palpable. The combination of natural beauty and unexplained phenomena creates a hauntingly memorable experience, where the ordinary and the supernatural exist side by side in the misty, shadowed, and enigmatic world of Crescent Bay Cabin. Hidden Shores Cabin, tucked away along a secluded stretch of Pennsylvania's lakeside forest, appears at first glance to be the perfect escape from the stresses of modern life. Its rustic charm, quiet waters, and towering pines attract visitors seeking solitude, fishing trips, or simply the calming embrace of nature. Yet beneath this peaceful exterior lies a history of unsettling phenomena that have earned the cabin a reputation among locals and travelers alike. Witnesses report phantom footsteps on the dock, shadowy apparitions moving silently through the surrounding woods, and mysterious cold spots inside the cabin, creating an atmosphere that is both serene and unnervingly haunted. The dock that stretches out over the lake is often the first place visitors notice the cabin as unusual activity. Guests frequently recount hearing the sound of footsteps pacing along the wooden planks when no one is present. The sound is often accompanied by the sensation of being watched, as though a presence lingers just beyond sight. Attempts to see the source usually prove futile. The footsteps stop when approached, leaving only the gentle ripple of the water and the fading echo of the phantom steps. Some visitors have reported seeing faint shadowy forms standing at the edge of the dock in the early morning fog, only to vanish moments later, leaving the impression that the lake is home to lingering spirits who refuse to rest. The surrounding woods are another focal point of strange experiences. Shadowy figures are frequently observed moving between the trees, their shapes indistinct and fleeting. Some appear to drift silently along forest paths, while others seem to pause for a moment, as if observing the intruder in their midst, before dissolving into the darkness. Witnesses describe these figures as humanoid but lacking clear features. Their presence, accompanied by an eerie stillness that amplifies the feeling of being watched. On quiet nights, hikers and cabin guests have reported glimpsing these figures from the cabin windows, noticing the way shadows move independently of the natural patterns created by moonlight and wind. The combination of movement, silence, and occasional glimpses of these forms creates a sense that the forest itself is alive with lingering energy from the past. These cold spots can move through a room or follow guests as they walk, sometimes accompanied by the faint sensation of a presence nearby. Many describe feeling a subtle pressure in the air or a gentle brush of movement, as if something unseen is brushing past them. Objects occasionally shift slightly on tables or shelves, sometimes coinciding with these cold areas, further reinforcing the idea that the cabin is inhabited by forces beyond the natural world. The combination of chill, movement, and the uncanny feeling of observation leaves many guests with a lingering sense of unease that persists even after they leave. The natural environment surrounding the cabin contributes to the haunting atmosphere. The lake reflects moonlight and the dense forest in ever-changing patterns, creating fleeting shapes and shadows that can play tricks on the eyes. Mist rising from the water often rolls inland, enveloping the dock and forest floor, blending with the figures reported by visitors and making them appear even more ghostly. The rustle of leaves, the splash of fish, and distant wildlife sounds occasionally mimic footsteps or whispers, merging natural and supernatural perceptions into a seamless and disorienting experience. Even ordinary environmental elements, like the wind shifting through the trees or the creak of the cabin's old timber scan, heighten the sense of something unseen moving just beyond sight. Many visitors describe layered experiences where multiple phenomena occur simultaneously. Some recount hearing footsteps on the dock while seeing shadowy figures in the woods and feeling sudden cold drafts inside the cabin. Others report doors opening or closing inexplicably, the faint scent of water or damp earth filling the air, or lights flickering as if in response to unseen presences. These overlapping events reinforce the sense that Hidden Shore's cabin is a place where the physical world and the spectral intertwine, creating a rich and unsettling environment that draws the attention of paranormal enthusiasts and curious travelers alike. Photographs and audio recordings sometimes capture anomalies consistent with these reports. Audio devices have picked up footsteps, rustling sounds, or low murmurs that were imperceptible at the time of recording. While subtle, these pieces of evidence align with the consistent eyewitness accounts, strengthening the cabin's reputation as a location where unexplained phenomena are a regular occurrence. Local guides and frequent visitors often note the unique energy of Hidden Shore's cabin. The combination of isolation, dense forest, and reflective water creates an environment where perception is heightened, making subtle sounds and movements feel significant. Guests who witness phantom footsteps, see shadowy figures, or experience sudden cold spots often leave with a mixture of awe and unease. Many describe the cabin as a place alive with the lingering presence of the past, a location where unseen entities coexist with the natural beauty of the lake and forest. Hidden Shore's cabin is more than a peaceful retreat along a Pennsylvania lake. Phantom footsteps echo on the dock, shadowy figures roam the surrounding woods, and unexplained cold spots sweep through the cabin. Visitors who explore its surroundings or stay within its rooms often feel a presence that is intangible yet undeniable. The combination of natural serenity and mysterious phenomena makes Hidden Shore's cabin a hauntingly memorable destination, where the ordinary and the supernatural intersect in ways that leave a lasting impression on all who visit. Echo Point Cabin, perched high in the Colorado Rockies, offers visitors breathtaking views of snow-capped peaks, dense forests, and valleys that stretch into the horizon. By day, the cabin is a serene retreat for hikers, photographers, and nature enthusiasts who come to immerse themselves in the majestic beauty of the mountains. Yet beyond its tranquil exterior, Echo Point Cabin has developed a reputation for unusual and unsettling occurrences. Guests and locals alike report unseen hands moving furniture, floors creaking when no one is present, and shadowy figures appearing in the moonlight, creating an atmosphere that is both enchanting and profoundly eerie. Among the most frequently reported phenomena at Echo Point Cabin is the sensation of unseen hands interacting with the physical space. Visitors often describe objects such as chairs, tables, or small items on shelves shifting inexplicably. Cups may topple from counters, doors swing slightly without wind, and blankets or clothing may be moved or rearranged as if guided by invisible fingers. Some guests recount waking in the night to find furniture slightly altered from its previous position. Though no one else had entered the cabin, the sensation of being touched or gently nudged is often reported alongside these events, producing a mixture of alarm and fascination. Floors creaking with no one inside is another hallmark of the cabin's haunting. Visitors frequently hear the sound of footsteps pacing through hallways, ascending and descending stairs, or crossing rooms when they are completely alone. The creaks are often irregular, sometimes soft and tentative, other times deliberate and heavy, echoing throughout the cabin with unnerving clarity. Many report that the footsteps seem to follow them, shifting location as they move, vanishing, and then reappearing elsewhere. This phenomenon is often accompanied by a subtle feeling of being observed, a sense that the cabin itself is aware of their presence and responds to it, reinforcing the impression that Echo Point is inhabited by unseen entities that maintain a silent, watchful presence. Shadowy figures appearing in the moonlight add another layer of mystery to Echo Point cabin. Guests often describe seeing dark, indistinct forms moving along the deck, the tree line, or near the windows. These figures are generally humanoid in shape, but lack clear features, appearing as fleeting silhouettes that vanish when approached or illuminated. Moonlit nights provide the perfect conditions for these sightings, as the contrast between pale light and deep shadows enhances the figure's ethereal appearance. Witnesses often report feeling a sudden chill or a heightened sense of tension when these shapes are visible, as if the air itself becomes charged with the presence of something unseen. In some cases, multiple figures have been reported simultaneously, moving in synchrony or standing in silent observation before fading into the darkness. The surrounding environment plays a crucial role in amplifying these phenomena. Echo Point cabin is located amid dense forests and steep mountain ridges, where wind gusts through the trees and shadows dance across the ground. The sounds of nature rustling leaves, distant wildlife, or shifting snow often blend seamlessly with unexplained movements inside the cabin, making it difficult to discern natural causes from something more mysterious. Mist or fog rolling through the valley at dusk and dawn creates a shifting landscape of shadows and shapes, giving fleeting forms a ghostly quality. This interplay of light, shadow, and sound often heightens the perception of supernatural activity and reinforces the cabin's reputation as a place where the ordinary and the extraordinary converge. Subtle, unexplainable occurrences also extend to the sensory experience of visitors. Many report sudden drops in temperature, the sensation of light touches on the skin, or the feeling of being watched from angles where no one is present. Objects may make soft thudding or sliding noises, even in the absence of wind or wildlife. Some guests have experienced doors or windows moving slightly when closed tightly, accompanied by faint sounds resembling whispers or sighs. These layered phenomena combine to create a tangible atmosphere of mystery, leaving visitors with a lingering sense that the cabin is alive with energies beyond the natural world. Photographs and recordings sometimes capture subtle anomalies consistent with eyewitness accounts. Long exposure images can reveal faint silhouettes near windows or on the deck, while video footage occasionally shows objects moving or lights flickering independently. Audio recordings have captured footsteps, soft tapping, or indistinct murmurs that were imperceptible at the time. While these pieces of evidence are open to interpretation, they align closely with the experiences reported by multiple visitors, lending credibility to the cabin's reputation for unexplained activity. Frequent visitors and local guides often acknowledge the distinct energy of Echo Point cabin. The combination of seclusion, surrounding mountains, dense forest, and the cabin's own aged structure creates an environment where perception is heightened and ordinary experiences take on an eerie quality. Those who witness unseen hands, moving objects, hear phantom footsteps, or see shadowy figures in the moonlight often leave with a mix of awe and unease. Many describe the experience as stepping into a space where history, lingering energies, and the natural world intersect, leaving impressions that are felt long after the visit ends. Echo Point cabin is more than a remote retreat in the Colorado Rockies. Unseen hands shift furniture, floors creak under phantom footsteps, and shadowy figures appear in the moonlit forest. Visitors who explore the cabin or its surrounding trails often feel a presence that is intangible, yet undeniably real. The combination of natural beauty and unexplained phenomena makes Echo Point cabin a location that is haunting, mysterious, and unforgettable, where the ordinary and the supernatural intertwine under the watchful gaze of the mountains. Blackwater Cabin, tucked deep in the remote forests of Maine, sits along the edge of a quiet, reflective lake. Its rustic charm and secluded location make it an ideal destination for those seeking peace, solitude, or a retreat from the bustle of daily life. Yet beneath its tranquil exterior, the cabin is steeped in an unsettling history. Built decades ago, the construction of Blackwater Cabin was marked by a series of tragic accidents. And over the years, visitors and locals alike have reported a range of paranormal phenomena: shadowy figures moving silently through the woods, phantom footsteps echoing along the shoreline, and unexplained lights flickering among the trees all contribute to the cabin's reputation as a place where the living and the spectral converge. The shoreline of Blackwater Cabin is often the first location where visitors encounter unexplained activity. Phantom footsteps are frequently heard pacing along the water's edge, appearing and disappearing as if someone or something is walking the banks when no one is present. Guests describe the sounds as distinct and deliberate, echoing over the lake in the stillness of early morning or late evening. Some recount seeing shadowy silhouettes moving just beyond the tree line, figures that vanish when approached, leaving behind only ripples on the water and the lingering sense that the lake is not entirely empty. These spectral presences are often accompanied by a cold draft or a sudden drop in temperature, heightening the awareness of something unseen. Sharing the shoreline with visitors, the surrounding forest intensifies the haunting atmosphere. Shadowy figures have been observed moving silently between the trees, sometimes following the paths or disappearing behind trunks with impossible speed. Witnesses describe these shapes as vaguely humanoid but indistinct, their forms shifting like smoke or mist. On certain nights, the forest seems to come alive with subtle movements, a branch bending though there is no wind, a faint glimmer of light that does not correspond to the moon or stars, or the fleeting impression of eyes watching from the darkness. The sense of being observed is particularly strong when the fog rolls in from the lake, shrouding the trees and cabin in a thick veil that distorts perception and heightens the feeling of unease. Inside Blackwater Cabin, unexplained lights and subtle activity are common. Visitors report small orbs or flickering glows appearing along walls, ceilings, or even outside windows. Some describe the lights as following them through rooms, turning corners with no source, or briefly illuminating areas otherwise shrouded in darkness. Doors occasionally move on their own, swinging open or closed without a breeze or visible cause. These movements are often accompanied by soft creaks, like footsteps pacing the cabin's floors, or the sense of a presence just behind the door. Guests frequently recount feelings of being watched while performing ordinary tasks, sensing the presence of unseen occupants who remain silent but tangible. The combination of shoreline, forest, and cabin activity creates layered experiences for visitors. Some have reported hearing phantom footsteps along the lake, while seeing shadowy figures among the trees and watching unexplained lights flicker inside the cabin, all within a span of minutes. Others describe sudden cold drafts sweeping through rooms simultaneously with distant sounds on the shore, a subtle rustling among the trees, and the brief glimmer of light passing along the walls. These overlapping phenomena reinforce the perception that Blackwater Cabin is a place where the ordinary and the supernatural exist side by side, where the spirits of past accidents and tragedies linger and interact with the living environment. The natural setting plays a key role in amplifying the sense of mystery. The lake's reflective surface catches moonlight and fog in unusual patterns, sometimes creating illusions of movement or shadow. The forest, dense and uneven, casts irregular silhouettes, further distorting perception and making fleeting figures appear even more ghostly. Mist rising from the water can drift inland, mixing with the trees and obscuring the shore, creating the illusion of spectral figures moving effortlessly through fog and darkness. Even the ordinary sounds of wildlife, the splash of a fish, the rustle of small animals, or the call of an owl can take on an eerie quality when combined with the other phenomena, blurring the line between natural and supernatural activity. Photographic and audio evidence occasionally supports eyewitness accounts, though these captures are subtle and often open to interpretation. Long exposure photographs sometimes reveal faint, humanoid shapes along the shoreline or in the forest that were invisible to the naked eye. Audio recordings have picked up soft, untraceable steps, faint whispers, or sudden knocks corresponding to reported movements inside the cabin. While not definitive proof, these recordings consistently align with multiple visitors' reports, adding credibility to the accounts of unusual activity at Blackwater Cabin. Locals who have grown up around the area often speak of the cabin with a mix of awe and caution. They describe it as a place with a distinct energy, a space where past tragedies and lingering presences imbue the land and structure with an intangible life. Visitors who experience the phantom footsteps, shadowy figures, or unexplained lights often leave with lasting impressions of the cabin's otherworldly character. Many describe it as a location where the living and the spirits of the past coexist, a place where history, tragedy, and mystery intertwine to create an experience both beautiful and unsettling. Blackwater Cabin is far more than a rustic retreat on the edge of a main lake. Shadowy figures drift through the mist, phantom footsteps echo along the shoreline, and unexplained lights shimmer in the forest and within the cabin itself. Those who explore its surroundings or stay inside its walls often sense a presence that is both invisible and undeniable. The combination of natural serenity and unexplained phenomena makes Blackwater Cabin a hauntingly memorable destination. A place where the ordinary world and the spectral converge in a landscape of mist, shadow, and lingering spirits. Moonlit Pines Cabin, tucked deep within the dense forests of Vermont, sits beside a tranquil, reflective lake that captures the moonlight in silvery waves. Its rustic charm, peaceful surroundings, and isolation make it a perfect retreat for families, hikers, and anyone seeking to escape the pressures of modern life. Yet beneath the serene beauty of the cabin lies a reputation for unexplained activity, earning it a quiet notoriety among locals and visitors. Witnesses frequently report ghostly children playing along the lakeshore, doors that move on their own inside the cabin, and shadowy figures lurking at the edges of the tree line, creating an atmosphere that is both enchanting and unsettling. The lake is often the first place visitors notice the unusual phenomena associated with Moonlit Pines Cabin. These ghostly figures are often described as laughing, running, or skipping stones across the water, only to vanish when approached. Some visitors say they have felt a playful presence tug at their attention, as though the children want to be noticed, yet disappear before they can be reached. The sound of laughter is sometimes carried on the wind, soft and melodic, mixing with the gentle lapping of the water and the rustling of leaves, creating a sense that the shoreline is alive with spirits from another time. The surrounding forest contributes heavily to the cabin's eerie ambience. Shadowy figures are frequently observed, moving silently among the trees, their shapes humanoid but indistinct, often disappearing behind trunks or fading into the darkness. Some visitors report glimpsing figures peering out from between the branches, watching them with an almost sentient awareness. On certain nights, when the moon is high and the fog drifts low over the forest floor, the shadows appear even more pronounced, drifting across the undergrowth or standing motionless at the edge of the clearing near the cabin. The combination of natural darkness, moonlight, and drifting mist often makes these figures appear ethereal, reinforcing the impression that the forest itself is home to lingering spirits. Inside Moonlit Pines Cabin, unexplained movement adds to the sense of otherworldly presence. Doors are frequently reported to move on their own, swinging open or closing without any breeze or human contact. Sometimes, a door will slowly creak open after being securely shut or slam shut unexpectedly, startling anyone in the vicinity. Objects inside the cabin occasionally shift slightly, as if nudged by unseen hands, and the faint sound of footsteps is often heard across the wooden floors, even when the cabin is empty. Visitors have described the sensation of being watched while performing routine tasks. The subtle awareness of another presence that cannot be seen yet is undeniably there. These occurrences are often layered and interconnected, creating experiences that feel immersive and persistent. Some guests recount hearing laughter from the lakeshore while simultaneously noticing doors moving within the cabin and shadowy figures watching from the tree line. Others describe cold drafts sweeping through rooms as footsteps echo down empty hallways, or the sense of being followed along the shoreline by unseen eyes. These overlapping phenomena suggest that Moonlit Pines Cabin is a place where the natural and supernatural coexist, where past and present intertwine in ways that are both subtle and unmistakable. The environment of the cabin amplifies these experiences. The lake's reflective surface mirrors the moonlight and surrounding trees, creating illusions of movement and shadow that sometimes appear as ghostly figures. Fog rolling across the water and drifting into the forest blurs the boundaries between land and lake, casting even ordinary shapes into eerie silhouettes. The wind, through the pine needles, can mimic footsteps. The snap of twigs can sound like someone approaching, and the distant calls of wildlife often merge with the faint laughter of the spectral children. These elements combine to create a heightened perception, where ordinary sights and sounds take on an uncanny and haunting quality. Photographs and audio recordings sometimes capture anomalies consistent with these reports. Audio devices have picked up soft laughter, whispered voices, or the sound of footsteps echoing across wooden floors when no one is present. While subtle, these recordings often align with the experiences reported by multiple visitors, adding to the cabin's reputation as a site of unexplained phenomena. Locals who live near Moonlit Pines Cabin often speak of it with a mixture of respect and caution. They describe the cabin as a place imbued with a lingering energy, a location where the spirits of past visitors, perhaps even children who once played along the lake, continue to remain tethered to the land. Guests who encountered the ghostly children, moving doors, or shadowy figures often leave with a deep sense of wonder and unease, remarking that the cabin feels alive in a way that goes beyond its natural beauty. Many describe it as a place where the boundary between the living and the unseen is blurred, a space where lingering memories and spirits coexist with the forest, lake, and cabin itself. Moonlit Pines Cabin is far more than a secluded retreat in Vermont. Ghostly children play along the lakeshore, doors move with no visible cause, and shadowy figures watch silently from the tree line. Visitors who explore the surroundings or stay within the cabin often feel a presence that is invisible yet unmistakable, a sensation that lingers long after departure. The combination of serene natural beauty and persistent paranormal phenomena ensures that Moonlit Pines Cabin remains a hauntingly memorable destination, where the ordinary and the supernatural coexist in a landscape of moonlight, mist, and shadow. Whispering Waves Cabin, nestled along a secluded inlet in Washington, sits where dense evergreens meet the lapping waters of a quiet bay. Its rustic exterior and panoramic views of the water make it an idyllic retreat for anyone seeking solitude or an escape into nature. Yet beneath the cabin's serene beauty lies a reputation for unexplained and eerie occurrences that have intrigued locals and visitors for decades. Apparitions walking along the dock, floors creaking under unseen weight, and strange ethereal music floating across the water create an atmosphere of mystery, leaving those who stay at Whispering Waves Cabin with experiences they cannot easily explain. The dock is often the first place where visitors encounter the cabin's haunting presence. Guests frequently report seeing faint, translucent figures walking along the weathered planks at dusk or during the quiet hours of the night. These apparitions are sometimes described as humanoid, moving slowly, almost gliding, and vanishing when approached. Some visitors have felt a chilling sensation of being observed, as if the spirits recognize their presence and are aware of being watched. Occasionally, the figures appear to pause at the edge of the dock, staring out across the bay, before dissolving into the night air. The combination of the mist rising from the water and the soft glow of moonlight often casts these figures in an ethereal light, making their presence both captivating and unnerving. Inside Whispering Waves Cabin, the unexplained activity continues. Visitors report floors creaking as though heavy footsteps are moving across them, even when the cabin is empty. Some recount hearing slow, deliberate steps pacing through hallways at night, accompanied by the subtle sway of furniture or the faint thud of objects shifting without cause. The wooden floors seem to react to the presence of unseen occupants, creaking and groaning under weight that cannot be accounted for. Guests often describe the sensation of someone or something moving just behind them, a feeling that intensifies when alone in the quiet darkness of the cabin. Strange music is another hallmark of the Whispering Waves experience. Visitors have reported hearing soft piano melodies or faint strings drifting across the water, carrying on the breeze in a way that seems to originate from no physical source. The music often begins suddenly, appearing to float from the bay itself, and fades as mysteriously as it arrives. Some describe it as melancholic, others as hauntingly joyful, but all agree that the ethereal quality of the sound creates an immediate sense of wonder and unease. On some nights, the music seems to accompany the apparitions on the dock, harmonizing with their presence in a way that makes the supernatural elements feel both interconnected and alive. The surrounding environment amplifies these experiences. Mist often rises from the water in the early morning or late evening, blending with the shadows cast by the trees and the cabin itself. The bay reflects moonlight, creating illusions of movement across the surface that sometimes resemble figures gliding across the water. Wind through the trees or along the shoreline can sound eerily like footsteps, while the subtle lapping of waves against the dock echoes in ways that amplify the sense of an unseen presence. Even ordinary nighttime sounds, an owl calling, leaves rustling, or a fish splashing, can take on a haunting quality when paired with the apparitions, creaking floors, and floating music. Many visitors have recounted experiences that combine these phenomena, creating an immersive sense of the supernatural. Some describe walking to the dock and seeing figures moving along the planks while hearing the soft strains of music floating across the water and feeling the creak of the floors inside the cabin. Others report returning from the shoreline to find doors gently swinging open or closed, accompanied by the sensation of footsteps pacing the rooms. These overlapping experiences suggest that Whispering Waves cabin is a place where natural and supernatural elements coexist, where the living encounter lingering spirits in a setting both beautiful and eerie. Photographic and audio evidence sometimes captures anomalies consistent with visitor reports, though these are often subtle and open to interpretation. Long exposure photographs occasionally reveal faint silhouettes along the dock or hovering above the water that were invisible to the naked eye. Audio recordings have captured faint piano notes, soft footsteps, or whispered voices, aligning with events reported by multiple guests. While these recordings are not definitive proof, they lend credibility to the numerous accounts of unusual activity at the cabin. Locals who know the cabin speak of it with a mixture of reverence and caution. They describe it as a place with an unusual energy, a location where the past lingers and interacts with the present. Many suggest that the apparitions and ethereal music are echoes of lives once connected to the bay, perhaps former visitors, fishermen, or those who lived near the water long ago. Guests who experience the dock, apparitions, creaking floors, or floating music often leave with lasting impressions of mystery and awe, commenting that the cabin feels alive in a way that transcends the natural beauty of the surrounding forest and water. Whispering Waves cabin is far more than a secluded retreat on a Washington inlet. Apparitions move silently along the dock, floors creak under unseen weight, and ethereal music drifts across the water, creating an atmosphere that is haunting yet mesmerizing. Visitors who explore the shoreline, walk through the surrounding woods, or stay within the cabin itself often sense a presence that is invisible yet undeniably real. The combination of natural beauty and persistent paranormal phenomena ensures that Whispering Waves cabin remains a place of fascination and intrigue, where the ordinary and the supernatural intertwine beneath the moonlight and mist. Foggy Hollow Cabin, nestled deep within the misty forests of North Carolina, is a place of quiet beauty and eerie reputation. Surrounded by towering pines and nestled at the edge of a winding creek, the cabin draws visitors seeking solitude, hiking adventures, or simply the peace of nature. Yet, beneath its picturesque exterior, Foggy Hollow Cabin has earned a reputation for strange and unexplained phenomena. Locals and visitors alike speak of shadowy figures that vanish into the mist, phantom voices calling out names, and doors that open and close with no wind or human touch, creating an unsettling atmosphere that lingers long after nightfall. The forest surrounding Foggy Hollow Cabin is often shrouded in a thick mist, particularly in the early morning or late evening, and it is within this fog that many witnesses report encountering shadowy figures. These apparitions are usually humanoid in shape but indistinct in detail, appearing briefly at the edge of vision before dissolving into the fog. Some visitors have described them as standing silently among the trees, their presence palpable yet fleeting, while others say the figures move along the forest paths, vanishing as soon as they are approached. The mist seems to act as a veil, concealing these figures until they are almost impossible to perceive, and adding to the eerie atmosphere that permeates the cabin's surroundings. Along with visual encounters, auditory phenomena are common at Foggy Hollow Cabin. Many visitors report hearing phantom voices that call out names, sometimes in a whisper, other times more clearly. These voices often seem to come from the woods or the mist itself, echoing across the creek or drifting down the forest paths toward the cabin. Some guests have recounted hearing their own names called, or the names of previous occupants, leaving them shaken and searching the surroundings for the source. The voices appear to be aware of the living presence nearby, sometimes stopping when approached, and then continuing once the visitor moves away. This disembodied communication adds a deeply personal and haunting quality to the cabin, making guests acutely aware of forces they cannot see or explain. Inside the cabin, strange occurrences continue. Doors frequently move on their own, swinging open or closed without any breeze or apparent cause. Some visitors have described entering a room to find a door wide open that they had previously shut, or hearing a door creak slowly as if pushed by an invisible hand. Occasionally, these movements are accompanied by the soft sound of footsteps across the floors. Despite the cabin being empty, guests often report the feeling of being watched while performing everyday tasks, sensing an unseen presence nearby. These unexplained events combine with the misty surroundings to create a sense that Foggy Hollow Cabin is inhabited not only by the living, but also by lingering spirits from the past. The cabin's misty setting amplifies the sense of mystery. Fog rolling through the forest and along the creek distorts shapes, makes ordinary shadows appear sinister, and gives movement to still objects. Trees cast elongated, shifting shadows across the cabin walls, and the sound of water trickling over rocks often carries in ways that resemble whispers or footsteps. Even the natural sounds of wildlife, an owl calling, the rustle of leaves, or a squirrel darting across the forest floor, take on a more ominous quality within the fog, blending seamlessly with reports of voices and figures. These environmental factors make every night at Foggy Hollow Cabin a heightened sensory experience, where the ordinary merges with the unexplained. Many visitors report experiencing multiple phenomena simultaneously, deepening the sense of immersion in the supernatural. Some describe stepping out onto the cabin porch to find shadowy figures moving through the fog while hearing phantom voices, calling from the woods and doors inside the cabin moving by themselves. Others recount walking along the creek at night and seeing figures dissolve into the mist as their names are whispered in the air. These overlapping experiences suggest that the cabin is a place where different layers of the paranormal interact, creating an environment that is simultaneously beautiful, mysterious, and unnerving. Photographic and audio evidence sometimes corroborates these accounts, though the results are often subtle and open to interpretation. Long exposure images occasionally capture faint silhouettes in the mist or along the forest paths that were not visible to the naked eye. Audio recordings have picked up soft, disembodied voices, creaking doors, and subtle footsteps corresponding to visitors' reports. While these recordings do not offer definitive proof of paranormal activity, they provide tangible reinforcement to the many accounts of strange events surrounding the cabin. Locals who live near Foggy Hollow Cabin speak of it with both respect and caution. They describe the area as having a distinctive energy, a place where past events and lingering presences leave their mark on the environment. Stories of shadowy figures, whispered names, and doors moving on their own are passed down through generations, lending the cabin an aura of legend. Visitors often leave with a sense of awe and unease, remarking that the fog, the forest, and the creek together create an atmosphere where the boundary between the living and the unseen is blurred. Foggy Hollow Cabin is far more than a secluded retreat in the forests of North Carolina. Shadowy figures drift through the mist, phantom voices call names from the woods, and doors open and close without explanation. Guests who venture into the cabin or explore its surroundings often feel the presence of something unseen. A subtle yet unmistakable awareness that the area is shared by forces beyond the ordinary. The combination of natural beauty, isolation, and persistent paranormal phenomena ensures that Foggy Hollow Cabin remains a hauntingly memorable destination, a place where the ordinary and the supernatural coexist beneath a shroud of fog and shadow. Shady Pines Cabin, nestled deep in the rolling hills of Tennessee, sits amid a dense forest of towering pines that cast long, eerie shadows across the landscape. Its rustic charm and seclusion attract visitors looking for a quiet retreat. But beneath the cabin's inviting exterior lies a history steeped in tragedy and mystery. Locals and guests alike speak of haunting phenomena linked to the cabin's past, where tragic family deaths have left lingering echoes. Witnesses report ghostly apparitions appearing in windows, shadowy figures standing silently on the porch, and objects moving inexplicably inside the cabin, creating a chilling atmosphere that leaves a lasting impression on anyone who spends the night. The first signs of the supernatural are often noticed at the exterior of Shady Pines Cabin. Visitors frequently report seeing figures in the windows, silhouettes that appear human but vanish when approached. These ghostly apparitions are typically seen at dusk or late at night, their forms partially illuminated by the faint glow of indoor lights or the waning moon. Some observers describe the figures as sitting quietly, as though watching the surroundings, while others see them pacing slowly, appearing restless or uneasy. The presence of these apparitions is often accompanied by a subtle feeling of being observed, a sensation that persists even when the figures themselves are no longer visible. The porch of Shady Pines Cabin is another hotspot for paranormal activity. Guests often recount glimpsing shadowy figures standing or moving along the wooden railing, silhouetted against the forest beyond. These figures seem almost solid at first glance, yet they dissolve into the darkness when approached. Some visitors report hearing faint whispers or quiet sighs on the porch, as though the spirits are communicating with the living in a language only partially understood. The combination of the isolated location, dense forest, and dimly lit porch creates a setting that amplifies the sense of unease, making even the most ordinary night feel charged with unseen presence. Inside the cabin, the hauntings continue with a series of subtle yet unmistakable phenomena. Objects often move without explanation, doors swing open or closed, and furniture sometimes shifts as though nudged by invisible hands. Guests have reported hearing footsteps on the wooden floors, heavy or light, pacing through rooms with no one present. In some cases, visitors claim that personal items, such as books, dishes, or small belongings, have been relocated, even though they were left untouched. These occurrences create the impression that the cabin is still inhabited by unseen occupants, their presence felt through movement and sound rather than sight. The history of Shady Pines Cabin provides a chilling backdrop for these experiences. Generations ago, the cabin was home to a family whose lives were marked by tragedy and loss. Accounts passed down through the years speak of sudden illnesses, accidents, and untimely deaths within the household, leaving the property steeped in grief and sorrow. Locals believe that the residual energy of these events remains, manifesting as the ghostly apparitions, moving objects, and unexplained phenomena reported by modern visitors. Some speculate that the spirits are family members, trapped in a loop of memory and emotion, replaying their final moments or wandering the property in search of peace. The combination of visual, auditory, and tactile experiences makes Shady Pines Cabin uniquely unsettling. Some visitors report seeing a figure in the window, while simultaneously hearing a soft voice calling a name from the porch. Others describe doors moving inside the cabin while sensing a presence behind them, creating a disorienting feeling of being both watched and followed. These overlapping phenomena suggest that the hauntings are not isolated events, but part of a larger pattern of lingering energy that saturates the property. Environmental factors contribute to the eerie atmosphere of the cabin. The dense pine forest casts shifting shadows across the cabin and the ground, creating illusions of movement that can be difficult to distinguish from actual apparitions. Wind through the trees produces low moans or creaking sounds, blending with the footsteps and sighs reported by visitors. Fog frequently rolls in from nearby hills during the evenings, obscuring paths and softening the light from windows, which enhances the sense of isolation and mystery. Even the normal sounds of the forest birds, rustling leaves, or the distant call of an owl often take on an unnatural quality when experienced. In the context of the cabin's haunted reputation, photographs and audio recordings sometimes capture anomalies that corroborate these experiences. Long exposure photos occasionally reveal shadowy forms in windows or on the porch that were not visible to the naked eye. Audio devices have picked up soft whispers, footsteps, or the creak of doors moving, aligning with accounts provided by multiple visitors. While such evidence is subtle, it reinforces the consistent reports of strange activity surrounding Shady Pines Cabin. Locals speak of the cabin with a mixture of reverence and caution. They describe it as a place where the past lingers, where the energy of lost lives permeates the forest, porch, and rooms within. Guests who encounter the apparitions, moving objects, or phantom footsteps often leave with a sense of awe, unease, and curiosity, remarking that the cabin feels alive with memories that refuse to fade. For many, a night spent at Shady Pines Cabin is not just a stay in a remote retreat, but an encounter with the lingering presence of a family whose story remains etched into the very fabric of the property. Shady Pines Cabin is more than a quiet escape into the Tennessee woods. Shadowy figures appear in the windows, spirits linger silently on the porch, and objects move inexplicably inside the cabin, creating an immersive and haunting experience. Visitors who explore its rooms, step onto the porch, or wander the surrounding forest often sense an unseen presence that is both subtle and undeniable. The combination of natural beauty, isolation, and persistent paranormal activity ensures that Shady Pines Cabin remains a haunting and unforgettable destination, where the ordinary and the supernatural exist side by side amid the mist, shadows, and pine trees. Cedar Lake Cabin, tucked away on the edge of a dense Minnesota forest, overlooks the still, mirror-like waters of Cedar Lake. Its rustic charm and remote location make it a perfect getaway for those seeking peace, fishing, or quiet reflection. Yet, beneath the cabin's serene exterior lies a reputation that draws a different kind of visitor, those intrigued by the unexplained and paranormal. Over the years, countless guests have reported eerie and unsettling phenomena. Phantom footsteps echo along the shoreline, doors move as if guided by invisible hands, and ghostly apparitions appear reflected in the water, creating an atmosphere that is as haunting as it is beautiful. The shoreline is often the first place where visitors sense the cabin's unusual energy. Guests recount hearing footsteps crunching softly on the sand or gravel, only to find no one in sight when they investigate. These phantom footsteps sometimes follow the shoreline in a steady rhythm, as though someone or something is pacing just beyond perception. At times, the footsteps come in pairs, suggesting the presence of companions walking together, while other times, a single set of steps echoes eerily across the water's edge. The sounds often occur at dawn or late at night, their timing adding to the unnerving sense that the lake itself is alive with unseen watchers. Reflections in the water have also been a source of unsettling experiences. Visitors have reported seeing figures standing along the lake's edge in the early morning mist, only to realize that the silhouettes are not present when they look directly. The water acts like a mirror, capturing forms that vanish when approached, as if the lake itself preserves a memory of those who have lingered there in the past. Sometimes the reflections are humanoid and clearly defined, while other times they are fleeting, shifting with the ripples on the lake. Witnesses describe a sense of being observed through these watery reflections, a feeling that intensifies when the sun sets and the lake darkens, leaving the forest and cabin shrouded in shadows. Inside the cabin, unexplained movement continues. Doors frequently swing open or closed without any breeze or human touch. Guests recount entering rooms to find doors ajar that they had previously shut, or hearing them creak as if pushed by an invisible hand. Furniture occasionally shifts slightly, objects are misplaced, and sometimes small items vanish entirely, only to reappear in different parts of the cabin. The combination of moving doors and displaced items creates an impression that the cabin itself is alive, responsive to unseen occupants whose presence is felt but rarely seen. Many visitors also report visual encounters inside the cabin. Shadowy figures are sometimes glimpsed at the edges of rooms, vanishing when looked at directly. Some guests describe the sensation of someone walking behind them, only to turn and find the space empty. The experience is often accompanied by a sudden chill, a drop in temperature that seems localized and inexplicable. These moments are fleeting, yet intense, leaving a lingering sense of unease that persists long after the visitor has left the cabin. The surrounding environment amplifies these phenomena. The dense Minnesota forest muffles ordinary sounds while amplifying the supernatural ones, making even small noises seem significant. Wind through the pines can produce whispering sounds, rustling that resembles soft footsteps, or low creaks that echo through the cabin. Mist often rises off the lake in the early morning or late evening, distorting shadows and reflections and enhancing the impression that figures are moving within the fog. The natural beauty of the location, a serene lake, towering trees, and open skies creates a stark contrast to the chilling encounters, making each experience more striking and unforgettable. Visitors often describe overlapping experiences that combine the lake, shoreline, and cabin. Some recount stepping out onto the dock and seeing a figure reflected in the water, while hearing footsteps along the shore and sensing a presence moving inside the cabin. Others describe waking in the middle of the night to hear a door slowly creak open, while observing faint figures across the lake in the moonlight. These simultaneous events suggest that Cedar Lake Cabin is a place where the natural and the supernatural coexist, where unseen energies interact with the physical world in ways that are both subtle and undeniable. Photographic and audio evidence has occasionally been captured, supporting some of these claims. Long-exposure photographs sometimes reveal shadowy forms along the shoreline or in reflections on the water, shapes that were invisible at the time the photo was taken. Audio devices have picked up soft footsteps, creaking doors, or faint whispers, often coinciding with the moments visitors report feeling a presence. While these pieces of evidence are not conclusive proof of the paranormal, they align with numerous first-hand accounts and lend credibility to the experiences shared by those who have stayed at the cabin. Locals speak of Cedar Lake Cabin with a mixture of caution and intrigue. They recount stories of previous families who lived near the lake, tragedies that occurred, and tales of visitors encountering something unseen but profoundly felt. The cabin and its surroundings are described as having a unique energy, a place where the past lingers and interacts with the present. Guests often leave with a mixture of awe and unease, acknowledging the natural beauty of the lake and forest, while also recognizing the persistent, unexplainable phenomena that define the cabin's reputation. Cedar Lake Cabin is more than a tranquil retreat in the Minnesota wilderness. Phantom footsteps along the shoreline, doors moving as if guided by invisible hands, and ghostly reflections in the water create an environment where the ordinary and the supernatural coexist. Visitors who explore the cabin, walk the dock, or wander the lake's edge often leave with a sense that unseen presences are sharing the space, that the lake and forest are alive with memories and energies that refuse to fade. It is a place of quiet beauty, shadow, and lingering mystery, where the living and the unseen exist side by side in a delicate, haunting balance. Twilight Bay Cabin, nestled along the quiet shores of a secluded Michigan lake, is surrounded by dense forests that stretch as far as the eye can see. Its wooden exterior, weathered by decades of wind and rain, gives it the appearance of a timeless retreat. Visitors come seeking solitude, fishing, or simply a peaceful escape. But many soon discover that the cabin holds a reputation far beyond ordinary tranquility. Locals and guests have long spoken of strange occurrences, shadowy figures appearing in the moonlight, creaking floors with no one inside, and whispers that seem to echo from the water itself. The cabin's unique combination of natural beauty and unexplained phenomena has made it a destination both for those seeking quiet and those drawn to the mysterious. The shoreline is the place where many first sense the cabin's otherworldly presence. In the soft glow of moonlight, some visitors have reported seeing shadowy figures standing at the water's edge, their forms partially reflected in the lake. These silhouettes are often human in shape but indistinct, fading into the darkness whenever approached. Some appear to be simply watching the lake, while others seem to move with purpose, pacing along the shoreline or disappearing into the trees without a trace. The moonlight enhances the eerie effect, casting long, shifting shadows across the sand and water, making it difficult to distinguish between reality and illusion. The sounds around Twilight Bay Cabin often reinforce the haunting atmosphere. Guests frequently describe the floorboards creaking as though someone is walking across them, even when the cabin is empty. Steps may ascend or descend the stairs slowly and deliberately, or pace back and forth across rooms, stopping abruptly and resuming unpredictably. These phantom footsteps are accompanied at times by a sensation of being watched, a subtle awareness of unseen eyes tracking movement within the cabin. The combination of visual and auditory phenomena leaves visitors feeling both unnerved and alert, as though the space itself is alive with lingering presences. Whispers from the lake are another common occurrence. At night, particularly on still evenings when the water reflects the stars, visitors report hearing soft, disembodied voices that seem to drift across the surface. These whispers are often indistinct, carrying fragments of conversation, names, or quiet sighs that vanish when one strains to listen. Some guests describe hearing their own names called from the water, or whispers that seem to echo personal thoughts, creating an intimate and unnerving experience. The lake acts as both mirror and amplifier, carrying sounds that feel alive and responsive, as though the water itself is a conduit for lingering spirits. Inside the cabin, strange movements continue. Doors swing open or closed without explanation, sometimes slowly, other times with sudden force. Small objects, books, cups, or personal belongings are often found displaced or relocated from where they were left. Some guests report glimpsing shadowy figures at the edge of rooms, visible only in peripheral vision, disappearing when looked at directly. The creaking of floors, moving objects, and subtle changes in the environment create an atmosphere where ordinary life and supernatural presence coexist, heightening the sense of unease. The forest surrounding Twilight Bay Cabin adds another layer to the haunting experience. Trees sway in the wind, casting shadows that twist and dance across the cabin walls, often creating illusions of movement. Mist rising from the lake can obscure the shoreline and the forest floor, making shapes appear and vanish in ways that amplify the impression of ghostly activity. Even natural sounds, the rustle of leaves, the calls of distant animals, or the gentle lap of water, take on an eerie quality when interpreted through the lens of the cabin's reputation. The environment itself seems to participate in the paranormal, blending with reports of shadows, whispers, and movement to create an immersive experience. Visitors often experience overlapping phenomena that involve multiple senses at once. Some recount stepping out onto the dock to see a shadowy figure on the water's edge while simultaneously hearing footsteps on the cabin floor behind them. Others describe sitting by the lake at night, hearing whispers drift across the water, and noticing doors inside the cabin slowly opening without cause. These experiences suggest that the cabin, shoreline, and surrounding forests act together as a single, interconnected space of haunting activity, where the unseen interacts seamlessly with the physical world. Photographic and audio evidence occasionally captures anomalies that reinforce these accounts. Long exposure images sometimes show faint figures along the shoreline or reflected in the lake that were invisible at the time the photo was taken. Audio recordings have picked up soft whispers, the creak of floorboards, or footsteps aligning with moments when visitors reported feeling a presence. While not conclusive proof of the paranormal, these glimpses provide tangible evidence supporting the experiences described by those who stay at Twilight Bay Cabin. Locals speak of the cabin with both reverence and caution. Stories passed down describe the lake as a place where past events linger, where spirits remain tied to the water and the forest. Guests who encounter the shadowy figures, phantom footsteps, or whispers often leave with a sense of awe and unease. Remarking on the blend of natural beauty and inexplicable phenomena, Twilight Bay Cabin is seen as a place where memories of the past, environmental energy, and the unknown intersect, creating a lasting impression on those who venture into its shadowed spaces. Twilight Bay Cabin is more than a remote retreat in Michigan's forests. Shadowy figures appear in the moonlight, floors creak without anyone walking on them, and whispers drift across the lake, creating an atmosphere charged with unseen presence. Guests who walk the shoreline, step onto the dock, or explore the cabin's rooms often sense the lingering spirits that inhabit the area. Experiencing a blend of natural serenity and haunting mystery, the combination of beauty, isolation, and persistent paranormal activity ensures that Twilight Bay Cabin remains a place where the ordinary and the supernatural exist side by side, leaving a hauntingly memorable impression on all who visit. Darkwater Cabin, perched on the edge of a remote New Hampshire lake, is surrounded by dense forests and rolling hills that seem to stretch endlessly into the horizon. Its wooden exterior, weathered by years of harsh winters and summer storms, gives the cabin a rugged charm, yet many who visit quickly realize that it is far from ordinary. Darkwater Cabin has earned a reputation for paranormal activity, drawing visitors and locals alike who are intrigued or unsettled by its unexplained phenomena. Witnesses consistently recount seeing ghostly figures along the dock, hearing music playing inside when no one is present, and observing shadowy shapes moving silently along the tree line, all of which combine to create an atmosphere of lingering mystery and quiet dread. The dock, jutting out into the calm waters of Darkwater Lake, is one of the first places where visitors sense the cabin's unusual energy. On moonlit nights, many have reported seeing figures standing at the water's edge. These ghostly silhouettes appear human in shape but are often indistinct, shimmering slightly as if partially formed from mist or moonlight. Some seem to stand silently, gazing across the lake as if lost in thought, while others pace the dock in slow, deliberate steps. Approaching these figures often causes them to vanish, leaving only the gentle lapping of water and the rustle of leaves in the breeze. The presence of these apparitions creates a sense of unease and curiosity, as if the dock itself holds memories that refuse to fade. Inside Darkwater Cabin, the haunting continues with a different intensity. Unexplained music frequently plays in empty rooms, often soft piano or string melodies that seem to drift from one corner of the cabin to another. Visitors have described hearing the faint strains of a waltz, a lullaby, or even full orchestral pieces echoing through the hallways, with no identifiable source. Some guests have attempted to trace the music to a specific room, only to find instruments untouched and the space completely empty. The music seems to respond to the presence of people in the cabin, becoming more distinct when someone is near, and fading when they leave, as though the spirits themselves are performing for the living. Shadowy shapes moving along the tree line surrounding the cabin are another common experience. Visitors walking the perimeter of the property report glimpsing figures slipping silently between trees, their forms blending with the darkness and shadows. These shapes sometimes appear as tall, human-like silhouettes, while other times they are smaller and harder to define. The movements are deliberate, as if the beings are aware of human observers, yet choose to remain elusive. On particularly quiet nights, the sound of rustling leaves accompanies these shapes, adding an audible element to the visual eerie. Witnesses often describe a sudden chill when noticing these figures, a tangible drop in temperature that seems to follow their movements. The combination of visual, auditory, and tactile experiences at Darkwater Cabin creates an immersive sense of the supernatural. Guests have described overlapping events in which music plays inside the cabin while figures appear on the dock and shadows move through the tree line. Some recount stepping onto the dock to see an apparition reflected in the lake, while simultaneously hearing piano notes drifting from an empty room. Others report standing at the tree line, watching shapes move between the trees, only to feel the cabin doors creak open behind them without any wind. These simultaneous occurrences suggest that Darkwater Cabin is a place where multiple dimensions of presence overlap, blending the natural and the supernatural in ways that are both subtle and unmistakable. Environmental factors add to the unsettling atmosphere. The dense New Hampshire forest muffles ordinary sounds while amplifying the eerie ones, making creaks, footsteps, and rustles seem more pronounced. Mist often rises from the lake during early mornings or late evenings, distorting the tree line and reflecting moonlight in ways that can create illusions of movement. The natural acoustics of the cabin and the surrounding woods carry sounds in unusual ways, making distant noises, footsteps, whispers, or music appear nearby, heightening the sense that unseen beings are present. Even the gentle ripple of water against a dock or the call of a distant bird takes on an uncanny quality when interpreted in the context of the cabin's haunted reputation. Many visitors have attempted to capture evidence of these phenomena. Long exposure photographs sometimes reveal faint figures on the dock or near the tree line that were invisible to the naked eye. Audio recordings occasionally pick up soft piano notes, creaks, or whispers that align with eyewitness accounts. While these captures are not definitive proof of the paranormal, they provide tangible documentation of experiences that countless guests have described over the years, reinforcing Darkwater Cabin's reputation as a place where the unseen is palpably present. Locals speak of the cabin with a mixture of respect and caution. Tales passed down through generations suggest that past tragedies, lost visitors, or perhaps unfulfilled stories of the lake's previous inhabitants linger in the area. Guests who experience the ghostly dock figures, phantom music, or tree-lined shadows often leave with a sense of awe and unease, remarking that the cabin feels alive with memories that refuse to fade. Some describe the experience as a connection to a past that still reaches into the present, where the natural beauty of the lake and forest blends seamlessly with unseen energies. Darkwater Cabin is more than a secluded retreat in New Hampshire. Ghostly figures appear on the dock, haunting music drifts from empty rooms, and shadowy shapes glide through the tree line, creating an environment where ordinary life and the supernatural intertwine. Visitors who explore the cabin, walk along the shoreline, or wander the surrounding forest often leave with the sense that unseen presences share the space with them, lingering in the moonlight, mist, and shadows. The combination of natural serenity and persistent paranormal activity ensures that Darkwater Cabin remains a mysterious and unforgettable destination, where the boundary between the living and the unseen is both delicate and hauntingly clear. Crystal Pines Cabin sits nestled deep in the forests of northern Wisconsin, its rustic wooden exterior blending seamlessly with the towering pines that surround it. The cabin overlooks a still, glassy lake, known locally for the way its surface reflects the dense forest and sky like a polished mirror. On the surface, it seems like the perfect retreat for those seeking solitude or the quiet beauty of nature. Yet, Crystal Pines Cabin carries a reputation far beyond its scenic charm. Over the years, countless visitors have reported unsettling phenomena: apparitions glimpsed in the water, floorboards creaking under invisible weight, and doors that open or close without explanation. These experiences have cemented the cabin as a place where the natural and the supernatural seem to coexist in uneasy harmony. The lake is often the first source of unease for guests, in the early morning fog or under the silver light of a full moon. Visitors have reported seeing figures moving just beneath the water's surface or standing along the shoreline. These apparitions appear human in form but lack clear definition, often shimmering or fading like mist. Some seem to be watching, while others appear to drift slowly, as though lost or searching for something. Approaching the shoreline frequently causes the figures to vanish, leaving nothing but rippling water and an unsettling stillness. These glimpses can last only a few seconds, yet the memory lingers, creating an indelible sense that the lake holds secrets that are not meant to be uncovered. Inside the cabin, the unsettling phenomena continue with a persistent intensity. Floorboards creak and groan as if someone is walking across them, yet guests often find themselves alone. The footsteps may move across the rooms, ascend or descend stairs, or sometimes pace back and forth in a steady rhythm. These sounds are accompanied by a feeling of being observed, a subtle awareness that an unseen presence shares the space. The creaking of the floors is often erratic, sudden, or unnervingly deliberate, leaving guests with a sense that the cabin itself has a consciousness or is inhabited by spirits lingering long after their physical lives have ended. Doors opening without cause is another recurring experience. Visitors describe entering rooms to find doors ajar that they had firmly closed, or hearing the soft creak of a door swinging on its hinges when no breeze is present. Some doors appear to move slowly, almost imperceptibly, while others slam shut with sudden force. These movements seem intentional, as though the cabin's unseen residents are making their presence known, combined with the creaking floors and ghostly reflections in the lake. These inexplicable door movements reinforce a sense that Crystal Pine's cabin is far from ordinary. Its space is animated by unseen forces. The natural environment around the cabin adds layers to the haunting. The dense forest muffles everyday sounds, making the creaks of the cabin and footsteps along the shoreline more pronounced. Fog rising from the lake at dawn or dusk distorts shapes and reflections, turning ordinary objects into shifting forms and making the apparitions seem even more real. The rustle of leaves, the snap of twigs underfoot, and the distant call of wildlife can all be interpreted as part of the supernatural experience, blurring the line between natural sounds and ghostly manifestations. Moonlight filtering through the pines can create shadows that stretch across the cabin walls or the water's surface, producing fleeting illusions of movement that leave visitors questioning their own eyes. Some guests have reported overlapping phenomena that combine multiple sensory experiences. They might see a figure reflected in the lake while simultaneously hearing footsteps inside the cabin and noticing a door slowly moving on its own. Others describe sitting on the dock at night, listening to faint creaks beneath their feet, and feeling a cold draft sweep through the cabin, as if the unseen presences are aware of their presence. These experiences create a layered sense of the supernatural, suggesting that the lake, the cabin, and the surrounding forests are connected in ways that allow the unseen and the seen to interact seamlessly. Attempts to capture evidence of these phenomena have occasionally produced intriguing results. Long-exposure photographs sometimes reveal faint figures in the water or on the shoreline that were invisible when the photo was taken. Audio recordings have captured footsteps, creaking floors, or the soft swing of doors that coincide with visitor accounts. While not conclusive proof of the paranormal, these pieces of evidence align with numerous first-hand experiences, lending credibility to the stories shared by those who have stayed at Crystal Pine's cabin. Locals speak of the cabin with a mixture of caution and fascination. Stories passed down describe the lake as a repository of memories, tragedies, and lingering presences. Visitors who witness the apparitions, hear footsteps, or notice doors moving often leave with a sense of awe and unease, commenting on how the natural beauty of the lake and forest contrasts sharply with the unexplainable activity. The cabin seems to hold a timeless energy, where the past and present intermingle, and where unseen forces continue to make their presence known. Crystal Pine's cabin is more than a secluded retreat in Wisconsin's wilderness. Apparitions appear in the water, floorboards creak under invisible weight, and doors move without explanation, creating an environment where the ordinary and the supernatural coexist. Guests who explore the shoreline, walk along the dock, or wander the cabin's interior often leave with the sense that unseen presences are sharing the space with them. The combination of natural serenity, isolation, and persistent paranormal activity ensures that Crystal Pines Cabin remains a place of mystery, where the line between the living and the unseen is blurred, and where every reflection on the lake and every creak of the floor carries the possibility of encountering the inexplicable. Eagle's Watch Cabin perches on a rugged cliff overlooking a remote Oregon lake, surrounded by dense forests and jagged rock formations that give the area a sense of isolation and untamed beauty. The cabin itself, a sturdy wooden structure weathered by decades of wind and rain, seems to blend into the landscape, offering visitors an escape into nature's quiet majesty. Yet, despite its scenic allure, Eagle's Watch Cabin carries a long-standing reputation for paranormal activity. Locals and visitors alike speak of shadowy figures appearing along the shoreline, phantom footsteps echoing in empty rooms, and ghostly whispers carried on the wind through the trees. These experiences have given the cabin an eerie mystique, attracting both those seeking solitude and those drawn by the unexplained. The shoreline below the cabin is often where the supernatural manifests most vividly. On moonlit nights, visitors have reported seeing dark, human-like silhouettes moving along the edge of the water. These figures sometimes appear to be standing still, watching the lake or the surrounding forest, while other times they drift slowly along the sand, disappearing abruptly into the shadows or behind rocks. Approaching the shoreline often causes these figures to vanish, leaving only the gentle lap of water and the rustle of reeds. The sight of these ephemeral forms has left many witnesses unsettled, their sense of solitude tinged with the impression that the land and water are inhabited by unseen observers. Inside the cabin, the hauntings take on a more intimate and immediate form. Phantom footsteps are frequently reported in rooms that are completely empty. Guests have described hearing the slow creak of boots or the hurried pace of someone running across the floor, followed by a sudden silence. Sometimes the footsteps circle a room, or ascend and descend stairs, pausing at certain points before continuing. These sounds are often accompanied by the unnerving sensation of being watched, a subtle awareness that someone or something occupies the space even when no one else is present. The floorboards themselves seem to hold echoes of the past, amplifying the cabin's lingering presence. Doors opening and closing without cause are another common phenomenon. Visitors have walked into rooms to find doors ajar, despite having closed them firmly moments before. Others describe doors swinging slowly, almost deliberately, or slamming shut suddenly, producing a startling sound that reverberates throughout the cabin. These movements appear intentional, as though the unseen occupants are trying to make their presence known or communicate in ways beyond speech. Combined with the phantom footsteps, the phenomenon creates an atmosphere where ordinary life and the supernatural intersect, leaving guests with a persistent sense of unease. Outside, the surrounding forest adds further layers to the haunting. Ghostly whispers often drift through the trees, indistinct and fleeting, sometimes carrying fragments of words or phrases, other times only faint sighs or murmurs. These whispers seem to respond to human presence, becoming clearer when a visitor is near and fading when ignored. Shadows move among the trunks and branches, creating fleeting illusions of figures walking between the trees or watching from a distance. The forest itself seems alive with quiet, untraceable energy, enhancing the cabin's reputation as a place where the line between the natural and supernatural is blurred. Visitors have described experiences that combine multiple elements of the haunting. Some recount stepping onto the shoreline to see a shadowy figure reflected in the water, while simultaneously hearing footsteps on the cabin's floors and whispers through the trees. Others report sitting inside the cabin near a window, observing the forest while feeling cold drafts sweep through empty rooms and hearing doors open without explanation. These overlapping phenomena suggest that the cabin, the lake, and the forest act together as an interconnected space, where unseen forces interact seamlessly with the living. Environmental conditions contribute significantly to the cabin's eerie atmosphere. Fog frequently rises from the lake in the early morning and evening, distorting shapes along the shoreline and among the trees. Moonlight filtering through branches casts elongated shadows that move and shift, sometimes giving the impression of figures gliding across the ground or water. Even the subtle sounds of nature, the wind through the pines, the call of distant birds, or the lapping of water against rocks take on an uncanny quality when perceived in the context of the cabin. As history of haunting, visitors often find themselves questioning whether what they see or hear is real or a product of the cabin's influence on perception. Some guests have attempted to document the phenomena. Photographs occasionally capture faint, indistinct shapes along the shoreline or within the forest, and audio recordings have picked up whispers or footsteps corresponding to reported experiences. While these recordings are not definitive proof of the supernatural, they lend credibility to countless first-hand accounts and reinforce Eagle's Watch Cabin's reputation as a place of lingering spirits and unexplained activity. Locals speak of the cabin with a mixture of respect and caution. Generations of stories describe the land as a place where past events linger, where lost or restless spirits remain tied to the lake and forest. Guests who witness the shadowy shoreline figures, phantom footsteps, or whispers in the trees often leave with a sense of awe and unease. Noting the contrast between the natural beauty and the inexplicable activity, the cabin seems to preserve a connection to histories and presences that refuse to fade, making every visit both memorable and haunting. Eagle's Watch Cabin is more than a secluded retreat in Oregon's forests. Shadowy figures appear along the shoreline, phantom footsteps echo in empty rooms, and ghostly whispers float through the trees, creating a space where the natural and supernatural intertwine. Visitors who explore the lake, wander the forest, or remain within the cabin's walls often feel the presence of unseen entities sharing the space, lingering in the shadows, mist, and moonlight. The combination of isolation, natural beauty, and persistent paranormal activity ensures that Eagle's Watch Cabin remains an unforgettable destination, where the living and the unseen coexist in a quiet, haunting balance. Silver Mist Cabin is nestled along a secluded stretch of Maine's rugged coastline, perched on the edge of a dense forest where fog rolls in off the Atlantic, cloaking the land in a perpetual, silvery haze. The cabin's weathered wooden exterior and rustic charm make it an inviting retreat for those seeking solitude and a deep connection with nature. Yet, Silver Mist Cabin holds a reputation far beyond its picturesque setting. For decades, visitors have reported seeing ghostly apparitions emerging from the thick coastal mist, doors slamming with no apparent cause, and shadowy figures moving silently along the shoreline. These unexplained occurrences have earned the cabin a place among the most haunted locations in Maine, drawing those curious about the paranormal, as well as those seeking the eerie thrill of the unknown. The mist itself seems to be alive at Silver Mist Cabin, curling along the forest floor, drifting over the shoreline, and slipping through the windows and cracks of the cabin. Many visitors report that the fog is not merely a natural phenomenon, but a veil behind which spirits appear. Ghostly figures have been seen moving within the mist, sometimes standing at the water's edge, as if watching the waves, other times drifting slowly toward the tree line before vanishing entirely. These apparitions are often fleeting, glimpsed only for a few seconds, yet the impression they leave is lasting. Some appear human, clad in clothing from eras long past, while others are more ambiguous, seeming almost like shadows given form by the fog itself. Inside the cabin, the presence of the unexplained is equally palpable. Doors slam unexpectedly, sometimes in succession, startling visitors and leaving them questioning if they truly heard what they believed. There is no wind, no draft to account for these movements, and no visible cause for the sounds. Guests have described walking into rooms to find doors swinging open or closed, occasionally accompanied by the faint creak of hinges that seems unnaturally deliberate. The timing of these events often coincides with other phenomena: footsteps on empty floors, a sudden chill, or the subtle feeling of being observed. The effect is disorienting, creating an atmosphere where the familiar is rendered strange and the ordinary becomes threatening. Phantom footsteps are a particularly common occurrence. Visitors frequently report hearing the sound of someone walking across the wooden floors when no one else is in the cabin. These footsteps can pace back and forth, ascend and descend stairs, or move in a slow, measured rhythm as if someone were performing a nightly inspection. Guests often pause to listen, expecting to see a person appear, only to find the rooms completely empty. The persistence and apparent intent behind these sounds give the impression that the cabin itself is inhabited, or that lingering spirits are retracing routines from long ago. The shoreline is another hotspot for supernatural activity. Shadowy figures are often reported moving silently near the water, sometimes appearing to glance toward the cabin or the forest, other times wandering along the edge of the waves before disappearing into the mist. Some visitors claim that the figures appear to interact with the environment, footprints briefly imprinting on the sand, objects along the shore shifting slightly, or ripples forming on the water's surface with no apparent cause. The figures move with a fluid, almost ethereal grace, reinforcing the sense that the natural and the supernatural coexist seamlessly in this isolated setting. The surrounding forest amplifies the eerie sensations. Silver Mist Cabin is enveloped by dense trees whose branches sway and creak in the slightest wind. Within the mist, shadows seem to move independently of the light, and whispers are often reported. Soft and unintelligible at first, growing clearer or more urgent as guests pause to listen. These sounds, combined with the visual apparitions, create a multi-layered experience that can make even the most skeptical visitor question the boundaries of reality. Some witnesses describe overlapping phenomena, such as glimpsing a figure through the mist while simultaneously hearing doors slam inside the cabin or footsteps echoing in an empty hallway. The combined effect is a sense of inescapable presence, as if the land, the cabin, and the water are all aware of those who wander among them. Attempts to document the phenomena at Silver Mist Cabin have produced curious results. Audio recordings have captured slamming doors, floor creaks, and faint whispers that align with the accounts of visitors. While these records do not constitute definitive proof of the paranormal, they do corroborate the consistency of experiences reported over decades, reinforcing the cabin's eerie reputation. Locals speak of Silver Mist Cabin with a combination of awe and caution. Stories of long-past events, forgotten tragedies, or lingering spirits are passed down through generations, warning visitors of the cabin's mysterious nature, while simultaneously highlighting its allure. Those who experience the apparitions, the phantom footsteps, or the slamming doors often leave with a heightened sense of awareness, attuned to the faintest movements, sounds, or changes in the fog. The natural beauty of the Maine coastline, paired with the persistent supernatural presence, creates a hauntingly memorable environment. One where the ordinary rhythms of life are constantly interrupted by the inexplicable. Silver Mist Cabin remains a place where the boundaries between the living and the unseen are blurred. Apparitions appear in the dense coastal mist, doors slam without explanation, and shadowy figures move silently along the water's edge, creating an atmosphere thick with mystery and tension. Visitors who walk the shoreline, explore the forest, or linger inside the cabin's walls often feel the presence of unseen entities, their senses heightened to the slightest disturbance. It is a place where natural beauty and the supernatural coexist, leaving an indelible mark on all who visit and ensuring that Silver Mist Cabin continues to fascinate, unsettle, and inspire those drawn to the mysteries of Maine's haunted coast. Hummingbird Lake Cabin sits nestled in a quiet valley of Pennsylvania, surrounded by dense forests and bordered by a still, reflective lake. Its rustic charm, wooden beams, and expansive windows make it an inviting retreat for those seeking solitude. Yet the cabin has long held a reputation for the supernatural. Guests and locals alike speak of ghostly children laughing by the lake, floors creaking beneath invisible footsteps, and strange flickering lights appearing in the surrounding trees. These phenomena have made Hummingbird Lake Cabin a place of fascination and fear. attracting visitors who hope to witness the unexplained firsthand and experience the eerie atmosphere that seems to pervade the property. The lake itself is often the site of the most vivid encounters. On quiet evenings, when the sun dips low behind the surrounding hills, visitors have reported hearing the high-pitched laughter of children echoing across the water. The sounds are playful yet ethereal, as if carried from another time, drawing those nearby to the lake's edge. Some have glimpsed small, indistinct figures running along the shoreline, darting between trees and rocks before vanishing without a trace. The reflections in the water sometimes seem to move independently, hinting at forms that cannot be fully explained. These experiences leave an unsettling impression, a mixture of wonder and unease that lingers long after the laughter fades. Inside the cabin, the paranormal presence manifests in more subtle but equally unnerving ways. Visitors frequently report hearing floors creak as though someone is walking above or behind them, even when they are alone. The footsteps move with a purpose, pacing across rooms, ascending and descending stairways, and sometimes stopping abruptly as if to listen or observe. These sounds often coincide with sudden cold drafts, creating a chilling contrast to the otherwise cozy interior. Guests have described the sensation of being watched, a quiet awareness that something unseen is sharing the space, following their movements, or lingering in the shadows. Doors opening and closing without explanation are another common phenomenon. Many who stay at Hummingbird Lake Cabin recount entering rooms to find doors swinging slowly or suddenly slamming shut with no wind or cause. Sometimes these movements seem intentional, drawing attention to certain areas of the cabin or guiding a visitor's gaze toward an empty corner. The combination of doors moving, creaking floors, and cold drafts creates an environment where the ordinary rhythms of a peaceful retreat are disrupted by the sense of an unseen presence. The surrounding forest amplifies the cabin's haunting atmosphere. Strange lights have been reported flickering among the trees, appearing and disappearing like willow. Witnesses describe them as soft glows, sometimes shifting in color or intensity, hovering just above the ground or dancing between branches. On several occasions, guests have followed these lights for a short distance, only for them to vanish entirely, leaving behind only the rustle of leaves and the lingering sense of being watched. These fleeting lights, combined with the laughter of unseen children, give the forest an almost dreamlike quality, blending natural beauty with a palpable sense of mystery. Visitors often recount experiences where multiple phenomena occur simultaneously. Some have described sitting on the cabin's porch at dusk, listening to the soft ripple of water while hearing ghostly laughter from the lake, observing lights flickering through the trees, and feeling creaking footsteps on the floorboards inside. Others report noticing shadows moving in the forest while doors move inside the cabin and cold drafts sweep across empty rooms. These overlapping occurrences suggest that the land, the lake, and the cabin itself may be connected, creating a network of unseen energy that interacts with anyone present. Attempts to document the supernatural at Hummingbird Lake Cabin have produced intriguing, though inconclusive, results. Photographs occasionally capture blurred shapes along the lake or among the trees, shadows that were not visible when the picture was taken. Audio recordings have picked up faint laughter, footsteps, and murmurs that correspond with guest reports. While these recordings do not constitute definitive proof of the paranormal, they reinforce the consistency of accounts over the years and highlight the cabin's enduring reputation for mysterious activity. Locals share stories of Hummingbird Lake Cabin with a mixture of caution and fascination. These tales warn of a presence that is curious but not overtly malevolent, suggesting that those who visit may be observed or gently interacted with, rather than harmed. Guests often leave with a heightened awareness, noting how the mist over the lake, the shifting shadows of the forest, and the subtle creaks of the cabin combine to create an environment that feels alive with unseen activity. The combination of natural beauty and paranormal phenomena makes Hummingbird Lake Cabin an unforgettable location. Ghostly children laughing by the lake, floors creaking beneath invisible weight, and flickering lights among the trees create an experience that is at once enchanting and unsettling. Visitors find themselves drawn into a landscape where the ordinary and supernatural coexist, where silence is broken by laughter that cannot be explained, and where shadows and light take on a life of their own. Hummingbird Lake Cabin remains a place where the living and the unseen share the same space, leaving an indelible mark on all who come seeking the quiet serenity of the lake or the thrill of its haunted mysteries. Willow Creek Cabin, nestled along the quiet banks of a winding creek in rural Virginia, appears at first to be the perfect retreat from the bustle of daily life. Surrounded by dense forests and bordered by the gentle meandering waters of Willow Creek, the cabin offers a serene escape where the sounds of nature dominate. The rustle of leaves, the soft ripple of water, and the occasional call of a distant bird. Yet, beneath this tranquil exterior, the cabin holds an unsettling reputation. Locals and visitors alike recount encounters with shadowy figures walking along the dock at night, doors moving inexplicably on their own, and phantom whispers echoing through the interior, creating an atmosphere thick with mystery and a sense of being watched. The dock is often the focal point of the cabin's supernatural activity. Guests describe seeing vague, shadowy forms pacing slowly along the wooden planks, their features indistinct but their presence undeniably human. These figures often appear just at the edge of moonlight or in the dense mist that rises from the creek on cool evenings, disappearing entirely when approached or viewed directly. Some witnesses report hearing the soft splash of footsteps in the water or the creak of boards beneath invisible weight, as if unseen visitors are making their way along the dock, pausing occasionally as if contemplating the stillness of the creek. The movements are deliberate and measured, creating a sense of quiet observation that can be both fascinating and unnerving. Inside the cabin, the unexplained manifests in more subtle but equally eerie ways. Doors open and close without wind or human intervention, sometimes slowly swinging in a deliberate arc, other times slamming abruptly, startling anyone nearby. Visitors often enter a room to find a door wide open that had been firmly shut moments before, or they hear it move on its own as they walk past. The timing of these events is unpredictable, occurring both in the dead of night and during the daytime, adding to the impression that the cabin is inhabited by forces beyond explanation. The movement of doors often seems purposeful, drawing attention to specific areas, creating unease, or even guiding visitors toward empty corners where shadows linger just beyond sight. Phantom whispers are another frequently reported phenomenon. Guests describe faint voices echoing through the rooms, sometimes calling names, sometimes murmuring unintelligible phrases. These whispers seem to emanate from nowhere in particular, traveling along walls and drifting down hallways with no discernible source. The voices often feel close, intimate, as though someone unseen is standing just behind a wall or around a corner. Yet when investigated, the spaces are completely empty. Visitors report the whispers varying in tone and intensity, sometimes soft and playful, other times urgent and chilling, leaving them with the distinct feeling that the cabin itself is communicating, or that spirits long gone are making themselves known. The surrounding forest contributes to the cabin's eerie atmosphere. On misty evenings, shadowy shapes are sometimes glimpsed moving among the trees, their forms blending seamlessly with the natural darkness. Lights occasionally flicker between the trunks, not like lanterns or campfires, but as though the air itself is aglow with energy. Witnesses have followed these lights for a few steps, only to find them vanish without trace, leaving the rustle of leaves and the distant flow of the creek as the only evidence that anything had moved at all. These phenomena create a sense of a living, breathing environment where the line between the natural and the supernatural is blurred. Many visitors report experiences where multiple paranormal events occur simultaneously. A guest sitting on the porch might hear footsteps along the dock while a door swings open inside the cabin, all accompanied by faint whispers drifting through the air. Others have described noticing a shadow in the forest while simultaneously sensing cold drafts moving through empty rooms. These overlapping experiences suggest that the creek, the forest, and the cabin itself may be connected in ways that are unseen. but deeply felt, creating a cohesive, unsettling presence that is difficult to ignore. Attempts to capture or document the paranormal activity at Willow Creek Cabin have yielded intriguing, though inconclusive, results. Photographs occasionally reveal faint figures in the mist along the dock or shadows moving among the trees that were not visible to the naked eye. Audio recordings sometimes pick up unexplained creaks, whispers, and footsteps that align with visitor reports. While these recordings do not provide definitive proof of the supernatural, they confirm the consistency of experiences shared by those who have stayed at the cabin and reinforce its reputation as a place where the unexplained is tangible. Locals speak of Willow Creek Cabin with both caution and fascination. Stories have been passed down for generations about the spirits that linger near the creek, the unseen inhabitants of the cabin, and the events that cannot be explained. These tales often warn visitors to tread carefully, to respect the space, and to remain aware of the subtle shifts in the environment. Many who have spent time there report leaving with a heightened sense of awareness, attuned to the sounds of the creek, the movement of the trees, and the faint whispers that drift through the still air. Hummingbirds flit across the open spaces during the day. Sunlight reflects on the creek's surface, and the surrounding forest seems tranquil and inviting. Yet, as night falls, Willow Creek Cabin transforms into a place where the boundaries between the living and the unseen blur. Shadowy figures on the dock, doors moving inexplicably, and phantom whispers echoing inside create an atmosphere that is at once beautiful and haunting. Visitors cannot help but feel the presence of something beyond the ordinary. A lingering energy that observes, interacts, and leaves a lasting impression on all who enter. Willow Creek Cabin stands as a place where the natural world and the supernatural coexist, offering both serenity and spine-chilling encounters in equal measure. Foggy Pines Cabin, nestled deep in the pine forests of Colorado, sits on the edge of a serene, mist-covered lake. The cabin, with its rustic charm and panoramic views, appears to be the ideal retreat for nature lovers and those seeking solitude. Yet beneath its peaceful exterior, the property has long been associated with strange occurrences and paranormal activity. Locals and visitors alike recount encounters with apparitions moving through the tree line, phantom footsteps echoing across the cabin floors, and eerie noises that drift over the lake, creating an atmosphere thick with tension and unexplained phenomena. The forest surrounding Foggy Pines Cabin seems alive in ways that go beyond the ordinary. Witnesses often describe faint shapes moving just beyond sight, figures that blend with the trees and mist. On foggy mornings or evenings, visitors have reported glimpsing shadowy forms pacing silently along the tree line, vanishing the moment one tries to focus on them. These figures are said to resemble travelers from decades past, their outlines indistinct yet human, giving the impression of someone walking through time itself. The movement is deliberate, as though the apparitions are patrolling their domain or observing those who dare to enter their territory. Inside the cabin, the paranormal presence becomes more intimate and unsettling. Guests frequently report phantom footsteps across the floors, sometimes pacing methodically, other times stopping abruptly before continuing with a rhythm that is almost purposeful. The sounds seem to follow people from room to room, sometimes descending the stairs, sometimes echoing across empty hallways. Even when the cabin is completely vacant, visitors hear these footsteps, feeling a cold, invisible weight accompanying each step. Some describe the sensation of being watched, the air charged with a presence that seems both aware and attentive, observing every move and every sound. Doors are also known to move without cause, swinging slowly or slamming shut with sudden force. Many visitors have recounted opening a door to find it closed when they return, or hearing a door move behind them as they walk through the cabin. These occurrences often coincide with the phantom footsteps, as if the cabin itself is alive and orchestrating events to guide or warn those inside. The unpredictability of these movements heightens the sense of unease, leaving guests unsure of what is natural and what is beyond explanation. The lake near the cabin adds another layer to the haunting. On quiet nights, witnesses report strange, echoing noises drifting across the water, Sometimes, these sounds resemble distant conversations, laughter, or soft cries, carried across the still surface by the wind or some unseen force. Other times, there are faint ripples and splashes where no visible cause exists, as if something moves beneath the surface. Guests have occasionally seen fleeting reflections on the water figures that do not correspond to anyone present on the shore, only to vanish when approached. These experiences create a sense of mystery, as though the lake itself is a portal to a hidden, unseen world. Strange lights are sometimes observed in the surrounding forest or across the lake. Visitors describe soft glows appearing between the trees, drifting slowly before vanishing entirely, or bright flashes reflecting off the water with no identifiable source. These lights often accompany other phenomena, such as footsteps, moving doors, or ghostly figures, suggesting an interconnectedness between the cabin, the forest, and the lake. Some speculate that these manifestations are residual energy, echoes of past events that have left their mark on the property, while others feel they may be the conscious presence of spirits lingering in the area. Multiple experiences occurring simultaneously are not uncommon. Guests have recounted standing on the porch, watching the fog roll across the lake while hearing footsteps inside the cabin, seeing shadowy figures in the tree line, and hearing strange noises echo over the water. These overlapping events create an almost cinematic effect, immersing visitors in an environment where the natural and supernatural coexist. The combined sensory experience, visual, auditory, and tactile, leaves a lasting impression and often a lingering unease that persists long after the stay has ended. Attempts to capture these paranormal events have yielded intriguing, though inconclusive, results. Photographs occasionally reveal blurred shapes in the forest or near the lake, shadows that were not visible when the picture was taken. Audio recordings sometimes pick up footsteps, faint whispers, or unexplained thumps consistent with visitor accounts. While these pieces of evidence do not definitively prove the presence of the supernatural, they corroborate the consistency of experiences reported over the years, reinforcing the cabin's reputation as a place where the unexplained is commonplace. Locals share stories of Foggy Pines Cabin with a mixture of awe and caution. Some claim that the cabin has long been touched by past tragedies, with spirits lingering in the tree line, on the lake, and within the walls of the structure itself. These tales warn visitors to be respectful, to remain aware of their surroundings, and to understand that the natural world here may be intertwined with forces unseen. Many guests leave the property with heightened senses, attuned to every creak of the floor, every shift in the mist, and every shadow moving just out of reach. As night falls, Foggy Pines Cabin transforms from a quiet retreat into a place where the boundaries between the living and the unseen blur. Apparitions in the tree line, phantom footsteps across floors, and strange noises echoing over the lake create an environment both enchanting and unnerving. The fog curling around the trees, the water reflecting unseen shapes, and the shadows shifting in the moonlight make the cabin a unique location where nature and the paranormal merge. Visitors often leave with a sense of having glimpsed something beyond the ordinary, an experience that lingers in memory long after the fog has lifted and the sun has returned to the Colorado forest. Maple Shore Cabin, tucked away on the edge of a quiet Massachusetts lake, is a rustic retreat that draws visitors with its picturesque setting and tranquil waters. From a distance, the cabin seems like the perfect escape from the chaos of everyday life. Tall maple trees line the shore, their leaves whispering with the wind, and the lake reflects the sky with perfect clarity. Yet, beneath this idyllic surface, the cabin has gained a reputation for unusual and unexplained phenomena. Guests often report ghostly figures appearing in the moonlight, floors creaking when no one is inside, and shadowy shapes moving near the water, creating an atmosphere both mesmerizing and unnerving. The shoreline near the cabin is frequently the stage for some of the most chilling sightings. Visitors recount seeing shadowy figures moving along the water's edge during the quiet hours of the night. These apparitions are often faint, sometimes visible only as silhouettes against the moonlit lake. Witnesses describe them as human in shape but indistinct in features, drifting slowly along the shore or pausing as if observing the calm water. The movements are deliberate, almost purposeful, giving the impression that these figures are tied to the land, the lake, or perhaps even the cabin itself. Some guests have reported seeing these shadows vanish as soon as they try to approach, leaving only the ripple of water or the soft rustle of leaves in their wake. Inside the cabin, the sense of an unseen presence continues. Guests frequently hear floors creaking when no one is present, a sound that seems to follow them from room to room. The creaks are not random. They appear deliberate, sometimes pacing slowly as if someone or something is walking through the cabin unseen. Visitors often describe the sensation of being watched, the air around them heavy with an invisible presence. Some report feeling a cold draft that moves along with the sound of the footsteps, chilling the room even on warm nights. These experiences often leave guests with a heightened awareness, a feeling that every step they take may be echoed by someone or something else in the cabin. Doors are another source of mystery at Maple Shore Cabin. Many visitors recount doors that open and close by themselves, sometimes swinging slowly, other times slamming with force. These events often occur in conjunction with other phenomena, such as phantom footsteps or the sighting of shadowy shapes near the water. Guests have entered rooms to find doors wide open when they were certain they had been shut, or found a door closed behind them that had previously been ajar. The unpredictability of these movements, combined with the other paranormal activity, contributes to an atmosphere in which the ordinary laws of nature seem to falter. The lake itself seems to hold a particular energy. On still nights, witnesses report lights reflecting across the water that do not correspond to any natural or human source. Sometimes these lights hover just above the surface, flickering softly, while at other times they move slowly across the lake before disappearing entirely. These luminous phenomena are often accompanied by soft whispers, distant laughter, or faint cries that seem to drift across the water from nowhere in particular. Visitors have also reported seeing brief reflections on the lake of figures who are not present on the shore. Ghostly images that vanish when approached, leaving only the calm surface behind. Multiple encounters at Maple Shore Cabin often happen simultaneously, creating a layered, immersive experience of the supernatural. Guests have described standing on the porch, watching the moonlight reflect off the lake while hearing footsteps inside the cabin and seeing a shadowy figure glide along the tree line. The combination of visual, auditory, and tactile phenomena makes it difficult to separate the ordinary from the unexplained, creating a sense of being enveloped in a world where the natural and the supernatural coexist. Many visitors leave with a lingering feeling that the cabin itself is alive, aware of their presence, and interacting with them in subtle, sometimes unsettling ways. Efforts to document these occurrences have yielded intriguing, though inconclusive, results. Photographs sometimes reveal faint silhouettes along the shoreline or in the tree line, shadows that were not visible to the naked eye. Audio recordings occasionally capture unexplained creaks, whispers, or footsteps consistent with guest reports. While this evidence does not definitively confirm the presence of the supernatural, it does support the consistency of experiences reported over the years and strengthens the cabin's reputation as a location where the unexplained is frequent and persistent. Local residents share stories about Maple Shore Cabin with a mixture of fascination and caution. Many claim that the land has long been touched by past events, leaving residual energy that manifests in the forms of figures, lights, and sounds. Some warn visitors to respect the cabin and its surroundings, to remain aware of the subtle shifts in the environment, and to acknowledge that the cabin may be inhabited by forces beyond human understanding. Those who heed these warnings often report more immersive experiences, sensing the presence of something ancient and watchful along the lake and within the walls of the cabin. As night falls, Maple Shore Cabin transforms from a peaceful retreat into a place where the boundaries between the seen and unseen blur. Ghostly figures in moonlight, creaking floors in empty rooms, and shadowy shapes near the water create an atmosphere that is at once beautiful and unnerving. The mist rising from the lake, the silhouettes of trees along the shore, and the reflective surface of the water contribute to a setting that feels both ethereal and alive. Guests leave the cabin with lasting impressions, haunted not only by what they have seen or heard, but by the persistent feeling that the spirits of the land and lake are watching, waiting, and interacting in ways that defy explanation. Maple Shore Cabin stands as a testament to the coexistence of natural beauty and paranormal mystery, offering visitors an unforgettable and otherworldly experience. Dark Hollow Cabin, nestled in the dense forests of northern New Jersey, is a secluded retreat perched on the edge of a quiet, mist-covered lake. Its rustic exterior and serene surroundings draw visitors seeking solitude, yet beneath the peaceful facade, the cabin is a place steeped in strange and unsettling phenomena. Locals and visitors alike have reported phantom footsteps echoing along the dock, shadowy figures moving through the fog, and unexplained whispers that fill the cabin with a sense of being watched, creating an atmosphere thick with tension and mystery. The dock extending into the lake often becomes the first stage for unexplained events. The sounds are often deliberate, moving back and forth with a rhythm that suggests a presence both aware and intentional. Some witnesses describe pausing to listen, feeling the vibrations of each step resonate beneath their feet, as if someone or something is observing them from the water's edge. Occasionally, these phantom footsteps are accompanied by splashes in the lake, as if unseen entities are moving through the water, leaving only ripples and a sense of unease in their wake. Fog frequently drifts over the lake and through the surrounding forest, lending an ethereal quality to the area, but also concealing its more mysterious aspects. Within this thick mist, visitors have seen shadowy figures moving silently along the shore or disappearing into the trees. These forms are usually indistinct, human in shape but featureless, gliding with a purpose that seems almost predatory. Some witnesses feel a chill pass over them as they observe these apparitions, a cold presence that suggests the spirits or entities are aware of their observation. In many accounts, the figures vanish when approached, leaving behind only the rolling fog and a heightened sense of the unknown. Inside the cabin, the haunting takes on a more intimate and personal character. Guests frequently report unexplained whispers echoing through the rooms, sometimes calling names or murmuring phrases that are barely audible. The sounds seem to move from room to room, sometimes following visitors as they walk, creating an unnerving sense of being tracked by an unseen presence. Floors creak with no one inside, doors shift slightly on their own, and objects sometimes move or are found in different positions than before. These subtle, yet persistent phenomena give the impression that the cabin is alive in some mysterious way, interacting with its guests in ways that defy ordinary explanation. The connection between the dock, the fog, and the cabin interior creates a continuous web of paranormal activity. Witnesses often experience multiple phenomena, simultaneously hearing footsteps outside while hearing whispers inside, or seeing a shadow in the fog as a door moves on its own within the cabin. This layering of sensory experiences reinforces the perception that the supernatural elements of Dark Hollow Cabin are interconnected, a web of presence that spans both the natural and interior spaces. Guests frequently remark on the intensity of this interconnectedness, noting how every sound, movement, or shadow seems purposeful, as if the cabin itself orchestrates the events. The lake adds another dimension to the haunting. On quiet nights, visitors report subtle movements on the water's surface, reflections that do not correspond to any visible object, and occasional glowing orbs drifting just above the lake. Some accounts describe hearing soft cries or laughter carried across the water by the wind, voices that seem human yet impossible to place. Others have reported feeling sudden cold drafts while standing on the dock or near the cabin windows, as if invisible presences are moving through the air, linking the interior and exterior with their unseen presence. Attempts to capture evidence of these phenomena have been met with intriguing results. Photographs sometimes reveal vague silhouettes on the dock or in the fog that were not visible to the naked eye. Audio recordings occasionally capture faint whispers or footsteps consistent with visitor reports, though the sources remain unexplained. While these pieces of evidence do not conclusively prove the supernatural, They underscore the consistency of accounts over the years and solidify the cabin's reputation as a place where the unexplained is not only possible but persistent. Local legends offer further context for the cabin's eerie reputation. Many suggest that Dark Hollow Cabin occupies land with a history of tragic events, with spirits lingering near the lake, along the dock, and inside the cabin itself. These tales advise visitors to remain respectful of the space and to be mindful of the subtle signals that may indicate a presence nearby. Those who take these warnings seriously often report the most vivid experiences, sensing a watchful awareness in the fog, on the water, and within the cabin walls. As night falls, Dark Hollow Cabin transforms from a quiet lakeside retreat into a place where the veil between the ordinary and the unseen grows thin. Phantom footsteps echo along the dock, shadowy figures move silently in the fog, and whispered voices permeate the cabin, creating an atmosphere at once enchanting and unsettling. The mist curling over the lake, the soft creaks of the cabin floor, and the shifting shadows along the tree line combine to form a hauntingly immersive environment. Guests leave with memories that linger, haunted not only by what they saw or heard, but by the persistent feeling of being in the presence of forces beyond understanding. Dark Hollow Cabin remains a testament to the coexistence of natural beauty and paranormal mystery, offering a uniquely unsettling and unforgettable experience. Shimmer Lake Cabin, tucked away on the tranquil shores of northern Minnesota, is a place where the quiet beauty of the wilderness masks an undercurrent of strange and unsettling activity. The cabin, a rustic structure of weathered wood and glass, reflects the peaceful lake during the day, drawing visitors seeking solitude and a retreat from the noise of modern life. But as night falls, the calm waters and dense forests surrounding the cabin seem to transform, revealing a world where the natural and the supernatural intertwine. Witnesses have reported ghostly figures appearing on the dock, doors moving as if touched by invisible hands, and strange lights flickering across the lake, creating an atmosphere that is both mesmerizing and deeply eerie. The dock extending into Shimmer Lake is often the first site of paranormal encounters. Visitors frequently describe seeing faint, human-shaped silhouettes moving along the wooden planks in the dead of night. These figures appear deliberate in their movements, pacing slowly, pausing, or turning, as if observing the lake and the surrounding forest. Those who step onto the dock in search of the source often find it empty, the boards cold and silent beneath their feet. Occasionally, ripples disturb the otherwise still water, as if the figures have stepped into the lake itself, only to vanish without a trace. These sightings leave guests with a lingering unease, a sensation that the dock is more than just a structure. It is a stage where unseen presences make themselves known. Inside the cabin, the strange activity continues in subtle and sometimes startling ways. Guests have reported doors moving on their own, opening slowly as if nudged by invisible hands, or swinging abruptly and closing with a soft thud. These movements are often synchronized with other phenomena, such as the sound of footsteps echoing through empty rooms or the faint creak of furniture shifting without cause. Visitors frequently describe a sense of being watched, a weight in the air that grows heavier with every unexplained sound. The interior of the cabin seems to respond to the presence of its guests, interacting with them in ways that defy explanation and heighten the sense of a lingering, conscious presence. The lake itself is central to the haunting of Shimmer Lake Cabin. On calm nights, witnesses have seen strange lights flickering across the water, hovering just above the surface or darting among the trees along the shore. These lights often appear briefly and vanish when approached, leaving only the reflection of the moon on the lake behind. Some guests report hearing soft whispers or distant laughter carried across the water, voices that seem to emerge from nowhere and vanish without origin. The combination of visual and auditory phenomena reinforces the sense that the lake and its surroundings are alive with something beyond the ordinary, a presence that moves unseen and interacts with the environment in subtle, haunting ways. Visitors often encounter multiple phenomena at once, creating a layered and immersive experience. A guest might stand on the porch, watching the lights flicker across the lake, while hearing footsteps in the cabin and catching a shadow moving along the tree line. These simultaneous occurrences make it difficult to separate reality from the unexplained, blurring the line between natural and supernatural activity. Many leave Shimmer Lake Cabin with a lasting impression of being enveloped by something larger than themselves, an energy that connects the lake, the forest, and the cabin into a single, living presence. Attempts to capture evidence of the haunting have yielded intriguing results. Photographs sometimes show faint silhouettes on the dock or among the trees that were not visible to the naked eye. Audio recordings occasionally capture creaks, whispers, or footsteps that correspond with guest reports, though the sources remain unidentifiable. While these findings do not provide conclusive proof of the paranormal, they do reflect the consistency of experiences reported over the years and lend credibility to the cabin's reputation as a place where the unexplained is frequent and persistent. Local residents share stories about Shimmer Lake Cabin with a mixture of curiosity and caution. Many suggest that the land carries the energy of past events, residual impressions that manifest in the form of ghostly figures, moving objects, and flickering lights. Locals advise visitors to respect the cabin and the surrounding wilderness, noting that those who are attentive to the subtle signs often encounter the most vivid experiences. There is a shared understanding that the spirits or entities associated with the cabin are not malicious but observant, their presence woven into the fabric of the lake, the dock, and the cabin itself. Nightfall at Shimmer Lake Cabin transforms the area into a realm where ordinary perception falters. Ghostly figures glide across the dock, doors move without human touch, and lights dance across the water, creating an environment that feels both ethereal and alive. The mist rising from the lake, the shadows among the trees, and the reflective surface of the water enhance the sense that visitors are part of a larger, unseen world. Each creak, whisper, or flicker of light reinforces the sensation of being watched and followed, leaving guests with an indelible memory of a place where the natural beauty of Minnesota merges with persistent and mysterious phenomena. Visitors depart Shimmer Lake Cabin with stories that linger long after they leave, haunted not only by what they have seen or heard, but by the intangible sense of presence that pervades the cabin, dock, and lake. The ghostly silhouettes, unexplained movements, and flickering lights combine to create an experience that is simultaneously beautiful and unsettling. Shimmer Lake Cabin remains a testament to the coexistence of natural tranquility and the supernatural, offering those who enter a glimpse into a world where the ordinary and the extraordinary meet, leaving an unforgettable impression on every visitor who dares to witness it. Blackthorn Cabin, perched on the rugged shoreline of Washington, is a secluded retreat surrounded by dense evergreens and the constant whisper of waves against rocky shores. By day, the cabin appears peaceful, a perfect blend of rustic charm and natural beauty, but by night, the tranquility gives way to a different, more unsettling presence. Visitors have long reported shadowy apparitions moving along the shoreline, phantom footsteps echoing in empty rooms, and unexplained cold spots accompanied by whispers that seem to come from nowhere. The cabin's eerie reputation has grown over the years, making it a destination for both those seeking solitude and those drawn to the mysteries that linger in the shadows. The shoreline around Blackthorn Cabin is the first place where the unusual often manifests. Guests have recounted seeing vague, human-shaped figures walking along the water's edge, only to vanish when approached. These apparitions are rarely detailed, more like silhouettes, yet their movements suggest an awareness, as if the figures are observing the cabin and its inhabitants. Sometimes, the figures appear to glide rather than walk, their presence leaving a lingering chill in the air. Witnesses often describe a tension that rises with each encounter, a feeling that the shoreline is not merely a physical boundary, but a threshold between the ordinary world and something unseen. Inside the cabin, the haunting takes on a more intimate form. Phantom footsteps resonate across empty rooms, following visitors as they move from one area to another. The sound is often rhythmic and deliberate, a soft echo that can be mistaken for the creak of old floorboards until it becomes too consistent to ignore. Doors are reported to open and close without cause, sometimes slowly, as if nudged by invisible hands, or suddenly, with a sharp thud that startles anyone nearby. Guests frequently experience sudden cold spots in particular areas, corridors, bedrooms, or the living area, where the temperature drops dramatically without any natural explanation. These cold patches are often accompanied by whispers, murmurs, so faint that they seem almost imagined, yet persistent enough to make visitors feel the unmistakable presence of something watching or guiding the sounds. The cabin's architecture seems to amplify these phenomena. High ceilings and wooden beams create echoes that carry footsteps and whispers further than they should, while large windows frame the forest and shoreline, reflecting shadows in ways that can trick the eye. On foggy nights, mist rolls in from the water, merging with the shadows cast by the trees, and the boundary between reality and the unexplained becomes even more blurred. Visitors have reported catching glimpses of movement just outside the window, only to find nothing when they investigate, leaving behind an unsettling sense that the forest itself may be alive with unseen presences. The combination of interior and exterior phenomena creates an immersive, almost interactive experience. Guests often report multiple sensations simultaneously, hearing footsteps in one room while spotting a shadow on the shoreline, or feeling a sudden chill in the air as a whisper drifts across the living room. These overlapping occurrences suggest a connection between the natural environment and the cabin's interior, as if the presence extends beyond the walls and interacts with the surrounding landscape. The result is a sense of total immersion, where visitors cannot separate the ordinary world from the supernatural, and each sound or movement becomes imbued with meaning. Local lore adds depth to Blackthorn Cabin's reputation. Some accounts suggest the land was once the site of accidents, lost travelers, or unresolved tragedies, and the spirits or remnants of these past events lingering near the shoreline and within the cabin itself. Residents in nearby towns often warn visitors to treat the space with respect, noting that the phenomena appear more pronounced when guests are fearful, disrespectful, or dismissive. Many who heed these warnings report the most vivid experiences, describing ghostly figures, whispers, and cold spots that seem aware of their presence, observing them in subtle, deliberate ways. Efforts to document the paranormal activity have produced intriguing results. Photographs sometimes reveal faint silhouettes along the shoreline or among the trees that were not visible to the naked eye. Audio recordings occasionally capture footsteps, murmurs, or even distant voices calling out, though the sources remain elusive. While none of this evidence definitively proves the supernatural, the consistency of reports over time reinforces the cabin's reputation as a place where the unexplained occurs regularly. Visitors who experience the phenomena firsthand often leave with stories that are vivid, detailed, and difficult to forget. As night falls, Blackthorn Cabin transforms from a serene lakeside retreat into a space thick with tension and mystery. The shoreline seems to pulse with unseen activity, the fog twisting around shadowy figures. Inside, cold spots ripple through the rooms, accompanied by whispers that seem to follow guests as they move. Doors shift without explanation, and phantom footsteps echo through empty hallways, creating an environment that is both haunting and mesmerizing. Each element, the forest, the shoreline, the cabin itself, appears connected, forming a network of presence that is impossible to ignore and impossible to fully comprehend. Visitors often leave Blackthorn Cabin with lasting memories of their experiences. They recount the chilling cold spots, the persistent whispers, the fleeting glimpses of shadowy figures on the shoreline, and the sensation of being observed by unseen eyes. The cabin's haunting is subtle, yet pervasive, woven into the very fabric of the property and its surroundings. It is a place where natural beauty and supernatural mystery coexist, offering a rare opportunity to witness phenomena that are at once both awe-inspiring and unnerving. Blackthorn Cabin stands as a testament to the persistent and enigmatic presence of the unexplained, leaving every visitor with a sense of wonder, fear, and unforgettable intrigue. Lakeside cabins are supposed to be escapes from the world, but these 25 haunted cabins remind us that the calm waters hide restless spirits, From ghostly children playing by the shore to shadowy figures appearing in moonlight, the night brings horrors that never leave. Thank you for joining us on this journey into America's haunted lakeside cabins. Subscribe, like, and click the bell to continue exploring the places where beauty and terror meet and where the echoes of the past still ripple across the water.